Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, February 27th of 2024. And it's a beautiful day, by the way, and with me today, I have Don Schwenker, Lynn Flagel, myself, Mike Steinitz are your county supervisors. Lisa Smith is our county auditor, Bjorn is IT, Luann is our executive assistant in the background back here, and first on our agenda today would be Mr. Jaden Shekel, our Jackson County Assistant Engineer, filling in for Todd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So first up is equipment quotes. In your packet, you should have seen all of our bid tabs. So first we'll go through the dump truck one, which would be the truck cab and chassis. Based on those bid amounts and trade values, we reviewed all the information. Everything was in accordance with specs that we had required. So given that, we recommend awarding the truck cab and chassis bid to RDO Truck Center. Do you want to go these one by one? I guess I should have.
So,
Individually.
yeah, we're on new truck and cab and chassis.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
So the net quote, what trade-in we're trading something in apparently is.
Yep.
Okay, and how does this compare to last year's truck? I was gonna warn you, I was gonna ask you that. I mean, I guess here's my thought, and we went through this last year, we went through it a couple months ago, because we get these bids and then 3 months later, before we get the truck, they come back and say, well, we gotta charge you another 10% because things went up. Well, that ain't what you bid.
Yeah, and we could be subject to that again, but I don't know.
So is this subtraction for RDO for the trade-in? There's no like, cause we're a government, cause if I remember right, it's like the discount we got for being a government agency was retracted. That's what the price change was. There's not a risk of that, or is that
So
just?
that was for, is that for purchasing a new one at that time, and not the trade-in though? But.
I just remember where we had to do a change for the price.
I think that was for,
That was on the
Purchase of a
purchase
new-
price versus when it came.
Yeah,
so that won't affect the trade value of what they put for their.
okay, it won't affect the trade value, but is there a discount in this that they could take back? And that's only something we wanna, you know. If we accept a quote, we did feel a few questions on why we had to pay more for something we had to sign an agreement for. But,
Yeah, I mean, nothing was specific as far as that goes.
When is this equipment expected to be delivered?
Third quarter of 2024, so
October?
that'd be
September,
the fall.
The truck box ain't gonna come until the truck comes, so that's gonna be the big question.
So,
Truck first. yeah.
we only got 2 bids?
Correct. Because other ones could not.
It
meet
was
the-
sent out to, they
And
could
these are
supply. Okay,
Yep, we sent it up to
And-
5 different suppliers.
I see that we have our head mechanic in the room. Could I ask him a question?
Certainly,
Are you okay with the Mac or Western Star, either or?
either or.
Either or, prefer one over the other?
They both have been proven well. The Mac is probably a little notch above. That's probably top shelf stuff, actually. What I've seen.
Are they the same body length, truck bed? length?
I mean, you sent out specs, correct?
Star versus
Yes.
Mac?
Yeah,
Yes, they're the same size.
But you sent out specs, correct? They meet the
Correct.
specs that you.
well, this is budgeted, right?
Yes, yep.
Any other questions or input
This
from
is
the,
for
you know,
one, too. Should state not 2, just 1.
okay?
Move to approve. Purchase for RDO Truck Center, the Mac for 135,500.
I'll second that.
Motion and second to approve the truck cab and chassis
No, you're pretty.
as presented for
Just a second.
135,500. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
So next then is the dump body or the truck box and plow equipment. You guys have that tab or tab?
Yep.
Yeah.
So same deal, we reviewed all everything that was submitted, it was all within our spec. So we recommend awarding truck box and truck body to Bonnell for $115,075.86.
Again, you don't know how this compares to our last purchase.
I don't for last year, I know typically Bonnell has been higher in the past.
Well, I thought we bought from Monroe last couple times for some reason. And you're okay with this change or the specs are the same and
The specs are the same, we've not had Bunnell, but they assure me that it's all good
where are
and
they coming from?
Dixon, Illinois.
Dixon, okay.
And I can't find anything in the spec that's lagging, so
Well,
Well, it's just gonna
at
be-
$10,000 difference, yeah, again, it's one of these. Things that come back in 3 months or 6 months and say, we can't.
Well, and they indicated they plan on, we have it in our spec for 45 days upon receival of the trucks for them to put the box and everything on, and we've asked them and they verified, yes, they intend to do that, it's just obviously have to have the truck first, so it kind of all hinges upon when we have the truck.
I assume we take the truck to them and they mount, correct? Alright. I don't have an issue with that, again, like I say, if you come back and say we can't. Meet that price, in 6 months, well, that makes a difference.
My other question would be as far as, cause this is gonna be your plow mounts and all that.
correct.
So is that gonna cause an issue with something breaks in the? If we've got like mainly Monroe
Yeah,
now
I'm with you.
and something breaks,
Yeah.
come we get a snowstorm like we did there in January. Are we gonna, is that gonna
It's possible.
cause more of an issue where if we got mainly Monroe now, we got maybe Monroe parts?
We have Monroe and Henderson parts in the parts room. Cause that's what we have.
So the equipment that
This is gonna be all new,
So
one truck, all new. But I guess, I'll be the one living with that.
well, I mean, again, as being the head mechanic, we respect your opinion to that point,
But it is a risk, yes, yes, you're right.
A $10,000 risk?
Yeah, there you go. How do you
I
value
guess that'd
that,
be,
you know?
there's $10,000 in difference in bid.
I
Maybe we don't
see.
run into that scenario.
yeah,
You
Right, you
nobody's
don't
got
run
crystal
into
ball.
it, it's a good deal, but if you do,
actually almost 11, but
and you got a truck
$100 short of 11.
out of service and a snowfall like we had in January there, where you're getting 24 inches a week.
So do you,
Last year.
recommend that then? I mean, the low bid, I guess, like I said, we're not stocking a lot of parts for these, or do we have a fair amount of Monroe parts that? How many plows do we have Monroe? 9? Or no?
Oh, 9 or 10 Monroes and 5 Hendersons, I believe, left.
Were these requests for proposals or were these out for low bid?
No, they're proposals.
Proposals or quotes.
Or
quotes.
I guess I'm looking for a recommendation as far as what's the value of having a fleet. I should say, I mean, we went through a terrible storm. Did we have a lot of breakdowns? Did we have a lot of parts we had to run after? Do we, something we can Jimmy rig?
No, I guess.
there a
we didn't have
concern?
anything Major, and a lot of the stuff. The companies use the same components in a little, maybe a little different.
Well,
setup.
that's what I'm thinking, yeah. So, I mean, as far as,
Won't
yeah,
know Till we get into
a
it.
bracketer here and there, that's a weld job. So,
Right.
I mean, a cylinder is different. If it's a rebuild, it's probably a common cylinder, I would think. I mean, nothing's obsolete. I wonder, I mean, we don't know what other counties, if they've ever used Bonnell.
Bunnell's big in Illinois.
Okay,
Illinois municipals all pretty much run. Bunnell, would you say, Terry?
Yeah, they're real strong over near there.
so I guess my point would be, yeah, if that is the case, I guess at least we have someone fairly local if we are in emergency that. maybe wait, you scratch my back and I scratch yours later or something, so. I'm open for suggestions or a motion.
No real reason not to, I guess we go
No.
with Bonnell's for the 115.75.86.
Got a motion?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second, to go ahead with the new truck box and attachments as presented to Bonnell. For $115,075.86. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
And just to answer your question about last year, so I'll start with the truck body from last year. Monroe was. Last year, or sorry, the lowest last year was Henderson. And they were at $108,780 last year.
That's the box and attachments, that's the plow and attachments.
Yep.
So we've got 7,000, 7%, 6% increase. Okay,
And Bonnell did bid last year too. Their price was last year at $114,815, so. All in all, pretty
don't want to
close
get their
to
foot in the door, that's the key.
so. And then you have last year's trucks too, if you're
Yep.
just gonna jump back to that quick. For last year we did 2 trucks, but the price, each one was the same price. So for one truck last year, the lowest was Western Star and they were at $150,319. And that
And
was,
they did-
that
they
was
did-
before
they did-
trade, so after their trade value. Their trade value was $15,000 for one truck we traded to, so. You're at 130 some thousand,
We're about to say.
yeah, about the same, so.
Just with a different truck.
Are we trading a better truck or it's time to move on? And we're sufficient with one truck?
That's all that budget allows.
You are correct.
buy more trucks.
I like your thought. The taxpayer would like your thought. Appreciate that. Let's move on.
Now is the grader. So from that one, let me. Right. in front of me here too. So each one, and you should have a quote comparison in your packet as well. Let's just go off of that one, 'cause that shows everything that's already included in the bid tab. Base bid price for the CAD is $425, $175. John Deere is $419, $675. So that difference is $5,500. They gave prices for the trade-in value and it's listed on your quote comparison, that's a typo, it's listed there as a 2012 John Deere. That is not the case, that was, I think, last year's. This year it's a 2014 Volvo, 2014, right, Sean?
Correct.
Volvo, the prices they included are the same for their trade value, the dollar amount, but based on what that model, similar year Volvo for that same model are currently going for at auction. We would like to keep that Volvo and sell it at auction for more, to get more value out of it. The average price of a Volvo of that same style in that same year range, so right now we're selling a 2014, so a 2013 through a 2015 Volvo of that same model are going on, the average price on auction is going for $59,223, or just round, just say $59,000 is what they're going for at auction, the average.
So with that being said, so when you do that, you put it on like Big Iron or something. I see these ads all the time and they come up and they take some pictures and They come looking, I would tend to agree a little bit with
Is there a fee listed on there?
There
How
is,
much?
that would be a question, Todd, probably.
It's just a percentage of the sale price.
Yeah, I understand it.
I don't know what it is, but-
5%, 10%? I know some people use them for different things. It's upwards of 30%.
I don't know the exact percentage, but, it changes based on the
Kind
total
of the
sale,
total
like
sale
so much to so much, it's a certain percentage. And then once you get over a certain amount of actual auction, I think it's capped off, but it varies. But we've done it twice in Clinton County, and on average, we got about, after their fee, we got about $20,000 more for the value selling it ourselves than in the trade value. We sold an excavator and we sold a grader as well doing that.
okay, what else?
Even if it went for 30, it would still be above. If you got the average of the 59, so. Quite a bit above, actually.
And in the most part, county graders are, they know they've gotten regular routine maintenance and they're not necessarily overworked. So I would say county equipment is usually, unless it's really, really spent, is on the upper end of sales stuff, I would say.
On our market, all-wheel drives are, most of, like the Volvo, the last one, it went in a container and went overseas someplace.
So you wanna keep going through this?
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
So you're asking of doing that, so there won't be a trade, so the.
So that'll lead into, yeah. what-
We lead into the next part of this, correct?
So then we also looked at 11 to 13-year-old machines, what they're average reselling for right now, like what a cat and deer, those models, what we're bidding now are 11 to 13-year-old machines, what they are currently going for at auction now, the average price, and that's what's listed on those line items there. But you have to apply present worth value to, since those are 11 to 13-year-old machines. You have to apply present worth value to get kind of what the machine we're looking for to get dollars to compare it off our base price. So that is towards the bottom. The second last line, I guess you could say that the cost using 11-year percent. The value not including trade, that dollar amount there. That takes into account subtracting the present worth value of the machines that are listed here, what we bid, what they would resale for in today's dollars, subtracted from the bid price to get what your essentially overall price would be. So based on that, we are recommending purchasing the cat grader, but keeping our Volvo to trade on or sell out or auction or outright, not trade.
These are like
So
the
can you
all-wheel
tell
drive.
me, oops, I'm sorry.
These are like the all-wheel drive or greater.
Right.
Not all-wheel drive.
No, no.
Rear-wheel.
Can you tell me what our present fleet numbers as far as deer, cat?
So correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
know the last couple of years we've been deer.
We've got obviously one Volvo, 2 cat.
Will we
And-
still have a Volvo after this one?
Well,
Thank you.
once we sell our auction off this one, no, but currently we're sitting at one Volvo, 2 cat and 10 deer,
7 deer.
7 deer.
How did the cat versus the deer rate?
Oh, boy, here we go. Anybody that runs one says they like some of the cat features better, the steering and whatnot, and the performance of it. So. Spot, John Deere has upped their game in their motor grader world the last 10 years or so, but I guess it's general consensus that the cat was probably a notch above.
So, I mean, that's been consensus for many years, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, that's kind of just, I don't know if you're paying for the name or what you're paying for, but if you talk to a lot of construction people, which we have in the past. I guess my thoughts are that they'd say the same thing. I like the diversity of trying to keep a balance, if you will.
That's my, for me, if you're asking for me, our numbers are leaning, we need to have a little bit better balance of two brands just for breakdown issues and things like that, get a little hairy in the wintertime.
But that was a reservation when we were approving the box and the attachments for the dump truck.
Correct.
You were nervous about going to the Bonnells because we have mostly Monroe and we don't have parts and all that stuff, so it's hard to argue against doing it for one.
But the difference of this is our repairs are generally done by warranty, so the dealer comes out. So in the wintertime, if there's two machines broke down and they're both the same brand, it's not, well, we're gonna send two guys to fix it. Which one do you want fixed first? So for me, if there's a chance that we have a deer and a cat or a deer and a Volvo or whatever you wanna say, we'll get two different companies to bring us a serviceman and we'll have them both fixed in a timely fashion instead of putting one on the back burner. Does that make sense to you? Did I counter what you were saying there?
Well, it's just,
Did we have a major issue with one of our deers this last?
Yes, we did.
Was that a warranty?
It was out of warranty.
And generally speaking, I guess the cat was always a little higher. I mean, the last couple of years when the bids come in, there was always a little higher and the trading value was always a little more and, again, I guess I'm not freedom. I don't know. So I'm gonna go on a recommendation, either from you or the mechanic. And if you're both recommending the cat
When you're,
at this point,
Yeah, and again, just to clarify too, the $5,500 difference in the base bids will be more than made up with the resale value of,
Yeah.
say, the cat's purchased in 11 years down the road, when it's time for it to go, its resale value will more than made up that $5,500 base price difference.
Could I take just a second to address the board?
sure.
My name's Tim Sherman. I'm with Martin Equipment. We're the construction dealer for John Deere. If you look at history over the last 7 years of the machines that you've traded off, there's been 8 machines in the last 7 years. 5 were John Deere, 3 were competitive brands. When you look back at the warranty claims against those machines, there was no engine repair on the 5 John Deeres that were traded off. The 3 competitive units, there was. When you look at transmission failures over the past 7 years, 2 of the John Deeres had transmission repairs. 2 of the 3 trade-offs had work done. I think when you look at your overall expense over the course of the life of your machines in Jackson County, everybody incurs some expense after those machines go out of warranty. We can go to Jones County. We have documentation that proves that. I've got paper that prove Clinton County has some expense after the machines run out of warranty. The big thing that we look at when the machines are in warranty, that they're in your main line, these are just made in Davenport, Iowa, and we do everything within our power between the factory, the worldwide distribution center in Milan, Illinois, our Rock Island store, our Dubuque store, or our Cedar Rapids store to get you back up and running in a timely manner. When they get out of warranty, things get a little bit older. Everybody's game changes because they made running changes on all these machines as the life they're going through. So when we talk about machine values, there better be a lot of money in machine values at the end because you're spending more money out of the gate. There better be better resale there. So I stress that based on our history and preventive maintenance and machine support, that considerations be given to John Deere in this situation.
Thank you. Any other comments? questions?
I only have, so we're not trading anything in, just like.
No, we're gonna
You're just gonna
sell.
buy a machine outright, so,
That's
so we're, that's, okay, just so my minutes are correct.
Yeah, I think that's what we're recommending. anyway.
Yeah, no, that's, I just wanna be sure that.
Yeah, so I
I'm a
think
little confused on that.
the intent would be, I think, I know we talked to Gene, but whether you buy a John Deere or Cat, we would want to sell our trade-in.
Right,
That's the thing.
Mhm.
Your machine categories, right now, if you look one up, like you're up yours.
So, that's compared, this is not your one, this is a cat one, so these ones are machines, we're now what, 11 or 13-year-old machines are selling for now.
Right.
But that's not applying, it's the machine we're buying, so you have to put this into a present worth value for the machine that we would intend to purchase. Basically, once you apply that, these are the numbers here. So this would, basically, this one was, if we were to trade the Volvo, this one is without, so that's why I'm just trying to focus on those two numbers there.
Thank you, Jim.
all right. Any other questions before? Pleasure of the board?
John, when you said the one that the the
Operator.
operator, thank you. I was gonna say the occupancy. Likes one better than the other. What is it?
Oh, they just like the steering of, anybody that has run both of them always says, I like the steering of the Cat better than the Deere. And some of the other functions are
Is that-
different,
Are they all joystick?
all joystick now, yes. But John Deere has a steering wheel for road use that most everybody uses because the joystick works too fast for a
Too
high
touchy.
speed and it's too touchy, I guess. Oh,
Joystick is in which one?
For both of them.
Deere or
I'm comfortable with either one. Like I said, I mean, just to keep diversified, I'd like to see that we maybe, um, keep everybody competitive also. Is,
And just for, since we had the numbers here, Cat last year for the same model, just a year older, obviously, but when they bid last year, their base price was $4,448.
$400,
448, 434.
that was the base
That was
price,
the base price without trade.
so they're actually
So they,
$22,000.
so.
And we bought it.
And that's since
bought
we
it
talked
here
about
last
the
year.
trucks and bodies from last year,
Right.
so just.
Talk about depreciation. Let's put that.
Pleasure of the board.
Questions? Machine values.
Yours and ours.
And last year we bought a John Deere.
The John Deere.
What's that?
The 448.
That
was
was,
the cat.
he said cat.
So maybe it could be a similar deal, know with the trucks, how they came in lower to try to get
Yeah.
that.
Last year we bought a
Obviously,
John
the
Deere.
last couple of years, I mean, like. It's up to
And
you.
you want to
If your recommendation is.
for the cat?
Yeah, so our recommendation is to purchase the cat at the base bid price and we'll keep our, with no trade, we'll keep our Volvo and we'll sell it.
they get everything.
When are you gonna sell it?
It's good.
I'll talk with Todd, but we probably plan it to be obviously not too far in advance of when this one would, or not to sell it way far in advance of when this one would schedule to come
Be
in.
here, because we need them all, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
we only have.
Volvo the spare right now, right? Volvo
Yep.
the spare.
This,
So this summer,
we don't have a spare grader necessarily.
Yes, Volvo is.
We can't, we're finding a way.
I'll make a motion to approve the cat and to keep the Volvo out of the trade value and sell it at private auction.
Second.
Motion second to approve the purchase of the, cat, motor grader as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all. All right, Jaden.
Next is, it feels like deja vu. This, Lamont shop grader position. So if you recall, it was maybe a month and a half ago, it was for this position, but that was due to
Yeah.
persons resigning, so this position is coming about due to from Roger's retirement yet, so. We conducted interviews. A few weeks ago, reached out to the applicant and they passed all their pre-employment. Tests, so, based on that, we are recommending the hire of Derek Hinkey for our Lamont shop grader, effective February 28th, tomorrow.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the hiring of Derek Hickey as a motor grader position for Lamont Shop. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Maybe Jaden, we could bring our last two employees in at some time and we can shake them hands and so we know who to call.
Yeah, we should. We'll go with Jamie and.
Trade some cell numbers so we know who to call.
Now's a good time with the weather like it is. We
Yeah, sure
Good for
enough.
that, so.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we like to meet our employees and, you know, so we're familiar with the face, I guess.
Yeah, I'll put that in their ear and get that scheduled.
Yeah.
I don't think that's always been done in your department necessarily, so.
By other departments, but really not ours, and so.
Because they're usually out and about and,
But still wouldn't hurt.
Right.
Always already
Yeah, it
executed,
takes
and
5
they
minutes
come
or
in
10
and
minutes.
introduce themselves.
yeah,
Takes less than 10 minutes.
that's what I'm just saying. It's kind of something new for your department, but I
Just
think
a
it's a
thought.
good idea.
Yeah, we'll get a hold of them and try to. Yeah,
Okay.
get that scheduled, so.
Again, or if you have your safety meeting going, they can
Mhm.
pop up here or something.
Okay. So last then is to set the hearing date for the 5-year road program.
Suggestion,
It was planned.
28th of March, is that what I had, somebody said? I have in my calendar.
I think it was, you guys had, decided or talked about, the 28th, right?
I think that's what I have in my
6
calendar.
o'clock,
What?
6 o'clock on the 28th, so
That's proposed.
I heard, is that Holy Thursday? Is that
Yes.
correct? So I didn't know if that plays in, or if that. I don't know, just, it was,
Doesn't affect me, but
I mean, it doesn't mean either, but I just wanted to throw that out there, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's, we need to get it going.
Mhm.
I think the last year was in February, so.
right,
I
we're
agree.
behind the ball already and
So
with
I
dates
would
that
make a
work.
motion, we proceed setting the 5-year road plan at March 28th, 6 P.M. here, correct?
Yes,
Here, down, or in the courthouse.
here, we had it last time.
Okay,
We got snuggled in here. Got a second?
Yes,
A motion is second to approve, set the public hearing for the 5-year road plan for March 28th of 24 at 6 P.M. in the board chambers. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
that's all I have.
Well, thanks, Jaden.
Appreciate it.
Yep,
Been on the hot seat a little back there, that's good.
gotta do it at some point, right?
Well, we
well, we're hoping so. That's the plan.
all getting older, you know. All right, is there any visitors or citizens that would like to approach the board this morning? Hearing or seeing none. We will move on to Mr. Bjorn Beck, our Jackson County IT Director. Good morning.
So I'm here today to get approval for a quote from the past. Seems like a couple of years. I don't know if it's been that long. We have had requests to get a electronic door access on the county recorder in the county attorney's office. We met with Command Security Solutions, Mike and I did at one time. We looked at doing the whole courthouse. Found out several offices didn't really care to have one on there, but these two offices did. So we narrowed it down. to these two offices and got a quote, better quote for just these two offices. And to also update the server, for our current software that uses, door access system. So for county attorney's office, county recorder's office, and to update the service system from Command Security Solutions, I have a quote for $15,073.83. So we're just looking for approval to go ahead and move forward with that project, if you guys so wish to do so.
So just to add to that a little bit, like Bjorn said, we've been working on this for years. We've had many discussions, we've had many options. We'd have these individuals here 4 or 5 times with different bids. It comes to the point, are we crying wolf or are we gonna have something done here? It's obvious that these two departments are in need, or they believe they're in need anyway. And it is a courthouse improvement as for security reasons. So, as I understand it, the county attorney will also have a remote.
They will have a remote, yeah, so they can, from what I understand, the door is going to be locked
At all times.
at all times, and then the receptionist will allow whoever in if needed. And then just an update on that software. The software is the original software that we got when we put in this original system, and I believe it was 2014, maybe early 2015. So it's time to update. It's gonna allow some remote access for our security guard to be able to control things instead of just myself. So
Is there a breakdown of software costs?
so the software with the server, so it's an appliance and the software. For install, all that good stuff, $3,590.05.
So that's something we would probably have to do anyway.
I would recommend it just
Well,
with the age of the
you
system.
know, that obviously you get behind 6, 8, 10 years and then you're.
Yeah, we're looking at,
So I did have a meeting with the attorney's office, that I did not meet with your recorder's office, but they are willing, they have in their budget for security purposes that they presented a while back. They do have funds in their budget for their portion.
Make a motion to approve, go forward and approve this quote, and go forward with the project.
Before, I'm gonna second it, but before I do, I'll second it, but this still leaves Becky on her own system and we're cool with that? Or would it be a smart time to just get everybody on the same system?
since we already have her done. She's a 1-person office, very, very limited access. I think for right now, it's just easier to stay this way. These are gonna be separate door panels as well on these, so.
Okay. This will come out of capital improvement fund or
No, they're
initially or?
Security budgeted in their budget.
Okay.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the quote as presented for the locks with
Command Security
Command
Solutions.
Security
That should be-
Solutions. Is there any other comments? So as far as Becky's operation and the rest of them, we still have security cameras, we still have all the above. And hers is also recorded to that point, so. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
And they are 6 to 8 weeks out from now, so.
It's
Just
not
so you-
too bad.
Just so you know. All right, thanks.
It will come out, yeah, okay. Thank you. Becky Chapin, our Director of Human Resources. Good morning.
Couple things today. So we have been in contract negotiations with our secondary roads department and the Teamsters Local 120. I was made aware last week that they voted and approved the contract as we presented through negotiations. The Teamsters themselves, their contract, once approved, has to be signed in Minnesota. So I'm here today. If we're going to approve the contract, I will have 2 copies signed and we'll send both to them and they will return 1 to us. That'll just kind of expedite the process. Otherwise, we have to send them to them, have Minnesota sign and send back. We've done it both ways. So anyway, the contract is being presented today as we negotiated through negotiations with the group. So I would ask for a motion to approve the agreement between Jackson County and Teamsters Local 120, effective July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2027, and authorize the chair to sign.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to approve contract as negotiated and presented with chair signature. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
And then I also have the Iowa Municipalities Participation Agreement, which is the agreement between Jackson County and Central States Team Care, who is the company that provides the insurance to the road crew. We renew agreements with them every 3 years, or historically, we have renewed every 3 years. And that current contract will expire this March. So I'm here to ask for a motion to approve the Iowa Municipalities Participation Agreement between Jackson County and Central States effective March 24th, 2024 through March of 2027, and authorize the chair to sign.
Do we know what the increase was for this year? Or is it proposed for 3 years or is it?
It is a 3-year. They guarantee a rate for 3 years not to exceed. So if it's less than what they propose, then they come back to us and give it to us for the lesser rate.
Sure they will.
Yeah, and they do. They have historically done that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're in a group like the trust
But
where
they
they've got
can't exceed
multiple.
that.
Right.
They can't exceed the amounts that we're contracting for the 3 years. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
For second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the team care agreement as presented and chair signature. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Do you have further business?
I do not.
Just one page here.
Yep.
Thank you. Right where that big arrow was?
Yep. That was kind of a small space in there, so I didn't.
It was camouflage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sure. All right, thank you.
good question.
Thank you.
We have claims with us?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, Lisa, are you available?
I am available. This morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 20th, 2024 board proceedings and the February 22nd, 2024 work session as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, to approve the minutes of the February 2024 board proceedings. As written and published. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to approve the expenditure of $50,000 from the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund, or as we know it as the LATCF, to the Jackson County Fair Association.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to approve the expenditure of the $50,000 from the LATCF to the Jackson County Fair Association. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants in the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $666,759.19.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the claims for $666,759.19 as presented. Any further discussion? Just a few notes. We have a extensive amount of construction expenses. And just to note, in some of our county expenses, we had over 103,000 in gravel for January, February. So that's uncommon to have that much, but we're way ahead of the game. We also had 30,000 in fuel because we spent a lot of time on the road.
Mhm.
And we had 35,000 in salt mix, which I hope carries over to next year. So any questions on that? I mean, we had some good expenses in there, but again, it was a positive going forward because of the weather, of course. And didn't help our road conditions at a certain time, but they're, I mean, as far as everything goes, they look good, so. Okay, any further questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve a handwritten warrant to Unity Point Clinic Occupational Medicine for $42 to rewrite a warrant to correct the vendor and which was lost in the mail, and the second handwritten warrant to the Jackson County Treasurer for $30 to pay for a stop payment on the original incorrect Unity Point Clinic warrant. They've tried since November to find out where this check is. I mean, we're calling out to Utah. And nobody's answering, nobody's calling back. So instead of, I said, let's just cut our losses. Let's pay for the $30. We've got that in, we've already
spent more than
exceeded
that.
that, yes. So we need to rewrite this check to the correct Unity Point. And we also need to pay the treasurer's office for that stop payment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the handwritten warrant as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve the amendment of a Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service to Macokota Country Club at 17961 33rd Street in Macokota, effective March 6, 2023 through March 5th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service to Macokota Country Club as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Now I need a motion to approve the renewal of the Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service to Macokota Country Club at 17961 33rd Street, Macokota, effective March 6, 2024 through March 5th, 2025.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the retail alcohol license with outdoor service with the amendment as presented earlier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve invoices for $22,656 to Rick Widener AIA, $15,835.87 to Midwest Construction Consultants, $55,856.20 to Bill Bruce Builders, $10,809.10 to Kraus Plumbing and Heating, $65,550 to Rock River Electric, Inc., $2,280 to Midwest Fire Sprinkler, $2,500 to Becker Construction and Remodeling LLC, $76,453.78 to Midwest Storage Solutions, Inc., and $1,260 to AT Disposal for a total of $253,200.95. And authorize the chair's signature on the project cost recap for the Law Enforcement Center for the month ending February 29th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the invoices as presented with the note that that is included in our total claim. So again, it's construction of the law center. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve invoices for $2,500 to SA Architects, $6,859.77 to Midwest Construction Consultants, Inc., $12,635 to Peak Construction, $7,125 to Crawford Company, $949.99 to Appliance Solutions, $182.24 to Macokota Municipal Electric Utility, $86.45 to Black Hills Energy, $20,520.36 to Rapids Food Service Contract and Design, and $5,345.78 to Amber Mattison for a total of $56,204.53, and authorize the chair's signature on the project cost recap for the Jackson County Fair and ISU Extension, the 4-H Outreach Center for the month ending February 29th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the invoices as presented for the Jackson County Fair and IUSU Extension 4-H Outreach Center. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I need a motion to approve setting a public hearing for a fiscal year budget amendment on March 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve a public hearing date for a fiscal year budget amendment on March 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Carried.
We'll be in Zoom on that one.
Okay. That's all that I have for the board today.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Luann? starting to get back to schedule here. We'll get to you, Jennifer. Good morning.
Good morning. The only thing I have for you today is the calendar. When the meeting, this meeting is done this morning, if we have enough time, we will have a work session on personnel matter. At 2 o'clock this afternoon is a Mississippi Valley Workforce meeting, CEO meeting by Zoom for Don. Tomorrow on the 28th from 8:30 to 9:30, Senator Grassley's traveling office hours will be in Bellevue for any of you that want to go to that. And also, if you can't make that, at 11:30, they'll be in DeWitt, at the City Hall in DeWitt. 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning is an IRIS meeting in Dubuque or by Zoom for NIN. At 2 p.m. Is an Early Childhood Iowa contract review site visit, also in DeWitt, also for NIN. At 6:30 tomorrow night is the Jackson County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update Meeting number 2. That will be in Bellevue for any of you that want to attend that. Thursday, February 29th, I'll have to make a couple of changes to what I handed out. At 8:30 on Thursday will be a budget work session in here for the supervisors. And when that's done, at about 10 o'clock, we'll have another work session on a personnel matter. And then at 5:30 that evening will be an ECA orientation meeting here in Macokota for any of you that want to attend that. Monday, March 4th at 9 a.m. is a Destination Iowa update meeting for all of you. At 10 a.m. is a work session on a conservation maintenance shop for all of you. And at 2 p.m. this afternoon is another Early Childhood Iowa contract review site visit. This one's in Clinton for NIN. Our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, March 5th at 9 a.m.
Okay, any questions for Luann? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next on my agenda is Joe Pence. Or Jennifer Mashadi.
I think Joe's gonna join via Zoom.
I see Joe.
There we go.
Good morning to both.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Joe. Joe is virtual today. Was going to be here in person with us, but had some family commitments this morning that took him out. So we decided we would try to do it this way with you all this morning.
Yeah, I apologize. This is typically a meeting I would be in person for and wearing something nicer than a hoodie jacket, but our daughter's a 3rd grade basketball player that loves the Clear Creek Amana Clippers, and they are playing at state today at 11:45. So I had committed to taking her to that. So I appreciate you being flexible and allowing me to join virtually for today's presentation.
Yeah, I would say she's probably got control of you, so that.
She has since I think it was
got it.
June 4th of 2015, and it gets worse every year. So
Yeah. So I kind of keep going that way.
yeah.
Well, we're very fortunate to have this option and we can see and hear you very well. So you're just fine.
I think
Awesome.
first, Joe and I would absolutely like to thank the board and Lisa for the year of work we've done. It seems like just last year we were sitting here in this chair bringing you the renewal, and the time has gone so fast. But I can tell you that we all have worked really hard to where we're at this year, which means moving forward, I think things continue to get easier and simplified for this county. So I think we would absolutely thank them for all this hard work that we've put in this year.
Without question.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We're gonna present the renewal packet and the work that we've been doing and where we're at to this point, and a little bit of the market conditions, and then just some recommendations that we would make for the renewal process. And I'm gonna let Joe go ahead and start that process.
Yeah, so there's a 50-page document that our team works with a group called Zywave. They're a data company in the insurance industry. They help us put together facts and figures, market data that supports what the insurance marketplace is doing. I did not include the 50-page document in the supervisors meeting notes because I know that those packets are big enough as they are. And the reality is we have 0 clients that read that thing from start to finish, but it is nice information that, you know, as you're reviewing, you're going to see some significant increases year over year to certain lines of coverage. And so I will send that document to Jennifer just to provide to you all, in case you are interested in what is driving the market conditions by line of coverage. It's an interesting document that speaks a little bit to that. Most of our clients, and I'm assuming Jackson County is no different, they want to know what the specific impact is to them as far as their contributions. And so we put together a spreadsheet that was included in the board packets that I'm pulling up here on my computer just for review as I speak to you all. Background, I know that there's several new members that I think came on right around the time that this thing renewed last year. So if you don't mind, I would like to ask, set up with ICAP, is the board familiar with ICAP as far as a group and the coverage that they provide, who they are? Can I ask that question before I blabber on too much longer?
Yeah, I guess, you know, I would ask Don and then if they're familiar. I suppose they're somewhat familiar. I guess we went through it last year. And they certainly run into them at the state conferences, their booths or whatnot. So they've had conversations with them, and I think we're comfortable with that.
Okay, perfect. So ICAP as a group, they're the Iowa Communities Assurance Pool. They're essentially a group that is set up to insure municipal clients across the state of Iowa. That includes counties, it includes cities, and then it includes other entities that are like municipal related organizations. So if you think about a city utility, that can be insured with ICAP. If you think of a waste treatment facility that's not under a specific county or city, that can be insured by ICAP. So it's a group that's formulated to provide traditional property and casualty insurance coverages. There are very few in the state of Iowa that compete with ICAP when it comes to the comprehensive coverage that they provide. And particularly in this marketplace with these conditions, there are essentially, from what we've seen, no insurers that are looking at counties and actively looking to write coverage for all the lines that ICAP provides coverage for. So I think in the state of Iowa, there's 85 of the 99 counties are insured with ICAP, and obviously Jackson County is one of those. So they are having challenges just like any other traditional insurance company is when it comes to trying to charge contributions that are fair to their members, but are also viable to provide the coverages that are needed. And so most ICAP members, we are advising during budget season that they should expect somewhere between a 30 and 40% increase year over year to their contributions for all lines of coverage. So as we look at Jackson County, you fall less than that. You fall at 28.46% increase year over year, which I recognize is not good news. It's a massive increase, but relative to other ICAP members, it's on the lower end of what we're seeing across the board. I put together the spreadsheet just so you guys have a reference point for pricing and kind of what lines of coverage are driving that increase. The biggest two are property and then your vehicle schedule. And that's primarily based on the fact that rates are increasing on those lines of coverage, and the cost for both vehicles and construction and labor has continued to go up over the last year. And so that's really what's driving the year over year changes to the program. So as opposed to me going line by line on these, you guys have had these in your packets and have had a chance to review. If you have specific questions, I'm happy to just answer those, or happy to go line by line if that is helpful. But I don't want to sit here and ramble for 20 minutes to you all on things that aren't of importance to you. So if you don't mind, I'll ask what questions you have or if there's specific talking points that you want to address here.
So on the vehicles, was there additions to that, or that was just the increase? I mean, it's
There-
just, like you said, the property also.
Yeah, on the vehicles specifically, the total limit of vehicles that are insured is up $413,929 year over year. So my assumption is that those are vehicle additions that have been made between last renewal and this renewal. There's not like a standard inflationary rider that ICAP takes on vehicle values.
And we've talked about deductibles in the past. Have we changed anything? Have we looked at our option as far as being self-insured, if you will? I know a lot of that comes into play anymore. We've discussed it briefly in the past. Options.
Yeah, so we did look at options. You'll see in that packet, I should have started with this. The far left-hand column is what the invoice came out at last year, sort of last year's renewal. The middle column is what we're renewing at this year with no changes year over year. So keeping the same, you have $1,000 all perils property deductible on the policy currently, which admittedly for a county with your asset schedule seems very low. But we've looked at this every year that we've been on the account. And the reality is ICAP's property rate per $100 of value is very low compared to the market. And so when we look at increased deductibles with them, they have very little room that they can reduce their property contribution to save the county money by taking on more risk. So in that far right-hand column, we looked at a $25,000 deductible compared to $1,000 deductible, and you'll see it saves the county approximately $6,000. So if you have one event, if you have one event in which the property coverage responds with the all perils deductible, it's a losing proposition of $19,000 to the county if we make that change. If we go the full year and there are no losses, we are saving $6,000. We also looked at a $50,000 deductible, and there's not a lot of savings for that either. So we've looked at the options. I wouldn't necessarily recommend them for the county, but there are options available to increase that deductible.
And Joe, were you briefly, like Mike saying, like we quoted a 25 and a 50, we explained the wind hail deductible as well. So
Yes.
that knows why we looked at that space.
Absolutely. So that's where I was going to next. So this year, ICAP, just like most insurers, are adding a wind and hail deductible to the policy. That's the number one driver of loss here in the state of Iowa and throughout the Midwest is wind and hail events. So there is a 2% wind and hail deductible on the policy. What that essentially means is if there's let's say a hailstorm that comes through or a tornado that comes through Jackson County, any of the buildings or personal property that's impacted, so we would do an inventory of what was impacted in the storm, they are going to take 2% of the value of all of those assets, and that is going to be the deductible that the county is going to be responsible for before ICAP comes in and pays above and beyond that. That is a significant change at renewal that has not existed beforehand. Unfortunately, the market is dictating it. So other insurers are adding that same wind and hail deductible, but it's something to keep in mind is that would be a significant change. It's no longer $1,000 as the county's expenditure. It's now 2% of the value of the assets that are impacted in that loss would be the.
And what is that? Oh, we don't know what that number is until we figure it
To
out.
have the claim.
So what I'm hearing, Joel, is. I guess in a small. Is that what we are buying insurance for, wind and hail? You don't wanna pay for.
Just has a big.
That's what I'm hearing. I mean. this-
Mike, I wish I could tell you
said
that,
the most damage is done by wind and hail. So that's obviously gonna be what our claim is on, wind and hail. So then, 2% of. Yeah, if we got.
Mike, I wish I could tell you that your
Wrong.
assessment of that was off, but I mean, it's exactly what it is. Here's what the comfort that the comfort that I always have with ICAP when I am talking to these groups, because these conversations are always, they're just hard to have because you guys are, your contributions or premiums are increasing and your coverage is reducing in this instance. The thing that I always feel good about with ICAP is the fact that it is a member-made pool. So there's 800 plus members within ICAP. You all are technically the owners of that organization. So member-owned pool. There's no shareholders to get rich off the contribution increases. There's nobody that has a vested interest in charging you more so they can make bigger profits. This is what's required to have a viable pool that can provide property coverage, your auto liability, your law enforcement liability, public officials, excess liability. They're increasing contributions because their reinsurance cost is up, and because the claims that they've paid out historically, they need to bring in higher contributions to make sure that it's a viable pool moving forward. So your assessment is correct. I always feel better about the idea that there's not shareholders getting rich off of these contribution increases. They're trying to create a viable program for Iowa municipalities to continue.
Horror stories, about Florida, you can't get insurance and it's not feasible to buy insurance and you hear all this, and I guess they're in the business not to lose money either. But if you look at a $500,000 loss and a $10,000 deductible, if I'm adding right.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not out of line to have a $500,000 in loss if we had a significant wind or.
Is this,
or hail, but-
is this $25,000 deductible per event or per year? Regardless of number of events.
Yeah, so the $25,000 option is per occurrence. So if you had multiple occurrences, then that deductible is going to kick in.
Yeah, that don't seem feasible to me. I mean, them numbers don't add up.
You have one claim and you're in the hole, so.
I would like to
Quite
go
often,
back.
we have more than
Right.
one occurrence.
I mean, that's good to look at least then you're doing, the
Right.
best thing
Coverage
with.
across- Full coverage across all of Jackson County. I mean, north, south, east, west.
Does this include the Together We Build and?
Does not.
No, so the Together We Build and the Law Center are still under builder's risk until they're completely built. Now, ICAP will put them on at that time. So you have builder's risk coverage for them until then.
So until they get their occupancy rating and their.
No, fairgrounds.
Oh,
No,
no.
no, and fairgrounds are not either at this moment, Don. So Joe and I did some homework with ICAP. Their policy is a 7/1 renewal. Is that correct, Nan?
No, they just renewed it.
January.
They renewed in January.
Yes.
Oh, so does you do 2 times payment?
year?
I can't answer that for sure. I know they made their payment kind of
So
right before we decided that we should probably be paying that bill.
With
I
being
think
ICAP-
it's only once a year.
we were gonna slide it at that July 1, because there's not, with ICAP, right, Joe, there's not the refund back and forth that we thought they would get.
Yeah, so if it were a 7/1 renewal, our concept or idea was that we should keep the properties insured on the fair policy until that was coming to expiration, and then add them to Jackson County's policy at that date via endorsement. Just because if you've already paid the contribution through the fair, our idea was not having Jackson County paying for 4 months of property coverage that the fair is already paid and likely wouldn't be reimbursed for. So that was our idea or concept. If it is in fact a January 1 renewal, then we can look at making that move sooner. But ICAP is going to have questions around, the interest that Jackson County has. They're going to want some information about the buildings. So that process can take, a month to get added, but we can start that as soon as makes sense. Our concept or idea was if it's a 7/1 renewal, we should maybe look at doing that as of the renewal date for the fair. But if that's not the date, we can look at a quicker timeline for that.
Why wouldn't they get refunded if we switched?
Why would they or why would they not?
Wouldn't they?
No.
ICAP, they're unique. Again, they're an assurance pool. They're not an insurance company, so they're not governed by insurance commissioner. Because of that, there's some pros and cons. The pro is we can add assets throughout the year up to a certain dollar figure, and they don't require a premium to add them. So if you guys add a vehicle, for example, they don't charge you every time we add a vehicle. But they also don't follow the same guidelines if we're removing assets. They don't necessarily give you refunds when you do that either. So I don't know the exact impact that it would have. I don't believe we're the agent on the fair policy at this point. So I can't ask specific questions to ICAP around what the contribution refund expectations would be. But our thought process was knowing that it was coming up for renewal in July, or thinking that was the timing that made the most sense. But again, we might need to re-explore that.
Good. I'm gonna go ask a question as far as the new law center and the Together We Build building, when we do insure them. I guess my thought process is there should be a whole lot different rate with that thing's construction out of concrete and steel. Non-flammable, if you will, and maybe a little more durable than wood siding or vinyl siding or something like that. Is there a different rate that are applied to them buildings?
There will be. They review those when we do add them, and the underwriter from ICAP is very aware of both of those projects. And so when they rate those up, they will include, new construction. I missed it. A steel building.
Framing
Concrete.
and concrete, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the
So
replacement estimator, Mike, they will have to enter the material that is used that calculates what the building rate for replacement cost is. So we don't just put asphalt shingles. We have to put what the roof material actually is, and that's what ICAP will do once it's up.
Sure. Okay, and now I'm gonna go back to the property just briefly if I can.
Yep.
Because somebody gave me this list a while back.
Oh, the assets list.
Structure inventory, it says on
Yep,
top.
It's the assets list.
Okay, so do we have all these items insured? What? So we're insuring,
So
this,
did that come from me, Mike, or did it come from somebody else?
it come from you.
Okay, so then what we did is I took last year's renewal and I tried to convert everything from motor graders to vehicles, everything I put into a spreadsheet. And I wanted to make sure that we still have it. And there were things that were on that spreadsheet that we no longer have. And I also put in all of the properties that we have. And only structures, because I think the other question comes up when we have property at Pine Valley. That's just property. So that's another type of insurance. That is property insurance. That is not in my inventory. But I know that we have coverage for it. So I only looked at structures.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I questioned some of it, right off the bat, we have $4,000 on this gazebo. Not important to me. The same asylum, 134 grain bins. I don't think they're in use.
So that was the question that we've talked
we
about,
still
Jennifer
have-
and I have talked about.
We still have,
I don't
the
understand.
tourism center.
Well, no, that got taken off. That did.
Well, it's on this, the welcome center is still on here at $220,000.
Well, I know that I sent and we received.
So there's multiple tabs in this spreadsheet. I don't know if you have it, Mike, but there's property values, covered vehicles, deletions and additions.
And this one?
Yep, so then in the
Well, I did
deletions, tab,
briefly.
we have the items that are coming off, and then in the additions tab, we have items that need to go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we, like a pedestrian bridge, we discussed in the renewal packet with Joe, when we were talking about different things. We've added the pedestrian bridge for liability.
Because I'm gonna go back to some of it again and say, well, yeah, you know, a gazebo, we're self-insured for that. I'm gonna say, well, you know, if that gets blown over, so be it.
See, what I kind of thought, maybe we should not insure anything less than a certain dollar amount, that we could absorb that loss should something happen.
Right.
But
I
then-
mean, you know,
And I, you know, honestly, I've been so busy, I have not gotten it done, but I did take last year's renewal and to try and put some dollars to, you know, for $19, is this worth insuring? We pay $19 for it, or should we deduct it? So that was, we never did come to an agreement, I guess, so to speak, and we can still do that.
Well, that's kind of my question, like we seen in this whole deductible. You know, adding the 25,000 deductible, it's almost a losing matter. So you take that off, is it saving you pennies or is it saving you a financial
It's pennies.
amount,
I'm gonna
It's
say the
pennies.
gazebo is probably less than $10.
you know? But then again, if you got
Yeah,
40 things, then that could make a difference, or 50, you know.
I
But
guess.
if it's just, we're
guess-
talking a handful of things. It's $100.
Maybe we should set up a work session where we go through and kind of make a decision.
Well, there's a couple on here we have to actually point out. I mean, you got the welcome center on there yet. You've got Big Mill Homestead for 80,000.
you know what, so what about
And-
Mill Rock
and
and
school,
schools?
yeah,
Those are 75.
52,000. Yeah.
Those are like 75, I was thinking it.
I know in
52,000.
conservation at their meeting that they had, they talked about taking off some. What, duck
Okay.
houses and
Well, so we
and
did
then,
talk about, yes.
a property that they got that has a old. House type of thing on it that they're like. If it goes down, they don't care.
They just have it on the liability schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
took liability, no structures coverage.
This is,
My only caution in looking at that, I think it's a good exercise to do. I really do. When we're looking at removing assets, you use the gazebo at 25,000, for example, or wasn't there a structure at 25,000? Did we throw one out there?
Um,
You
think
can use
because-
75 for one, Joe. You wanna do
Okay.
75?
So if we look at removing individual assets, my big fear is that if there's a tornado that rips through and impacts a bunch of different assets, and we have chosen to self-insure some of those, we're having all of what we self-insured that we have to consider rebuilding, plus our deductible on the assets that were impacted at 2%, that figure can get very, very high. And so if you think about your $75,000 structure, if you have that taken out and you need to rebuild it, it's $75,000 out of pocket for the county. If we had it insured, it's $1,500 out of pocket for that one structure for the county, because that's 2% of the value of it. If we remove that structure at 75,000, we can look at the ICAP invoice and actually get the breakdown. You're looking at a very minimal amount. So if there's a big reserve or big fund available to pay for self-insured property losses, then that may be an option. I just always want to caution our clients, if we remove those and it's like a tornado type event, it can be a big out-of-pocket expenditure that we are not insured for, obviously. So
I think I would look at more removing things that it would be questionable that,
You would.
do we even have to have it?
yeah,
You
sure.
know, kind of them things that, yeah, they're there and we're insuring them because they're there, but do they really need to be there? Not necessarily that we would be rebuilding them all on our own dime. type of
That
deal.
to me, if there's assets that obviously don't exist then we need to remove them. If there are assets that we wouldn't rebuild, then we should remove those also, because every dollar I know matters in the makeup of the.
Well, yeah, you
contribution.
said that they're minimal, but you got 20 minimals that make up a major. If they-
Totally agree. Yep. So if there are assets that we wouldn't rebuild, I always pause on the idea of, should we self-insure this? If you're going to rebuild it, if there's a loss, then the cost to insure it relative to what the loss would be is a pretty significant difference. So.
Yeah, I'm not gonna rebuild the welcome center.
I'm just saying, you have the insane asylum, Canton School, Mill Rock
Yeah.
School, Big Homestead.
Big mill.
Those are, very old buildings. I think Canton School and Mill Rock, I think are 75,000.
52.5 it says on this one. I don't know how old it
That's an old
is.
one, because I think. I'm just saying, I mean, we talked about this and that's why.
Maybe I had this in my book a long time.
Yeah, I was
It
gonna
says
say.
2016.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure it's
We did
75,000.
So they got it.
I finally looked at it.
I appreciate that, Mike.
We
Thank you.
we really,
Right here.
I'm just telling you, we did a very thorough.
Send us a new
yeah,
one.
Yeah, we've been very thorough, because that Big Mill Homestead, I think is like 80 or 85,000. It's
And
like,
if you want to do a work session, we can certainly do that and just take a peek.
Well,
what it would
we
look
had
like
to
if
look
they
at
took
it
off.
for going forward,
Know
maybe.
that, yes, the point is, again, to have this inventory, structure inventory, and for us to look at it and make the circles. It's not like we have to sit here and go through every one of them. I can pick out the ones I don't need on there. I don't need them green bins on there. I know that. They're just sitting there.
And we did send it out to each department head as well, so
Yeah.
Karen got one, Lisa got one, Lynn and Stacy. So everybody's had an opportunity from the department head space to tell us what they needed taken off and what they needed added.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, secondary road buildings all need to be on there, yeah, so. Anyway, I appreciate,
we sat and talked to Nate, we had a meeting with Nate, he has some of the same concerns. Why do we insure this and we don't insure that? I mean,
Well, one question I have is, I know, as you look at, okay, we have $30 million in property. If we lower it $200,000, do we fall in like a parameter where you're in the 25 to $35 million category of insurance, and if we dropped it $200,000 or $300,000, it ain't gonna really change anything because
The rate is the rate per hundred, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, the rate stays the same, whether you're in this box or that box, it's a per hundred rate. So
and keep in mind, you're gonna probably add $10 million of value here within the next few months.
and we have no choice.
That's right.
I will say this, I want to thank Jennifer, especially for her time spent with Lisa and
Us.
other individuals, us. As far as going over and explaining and taking the time out of her day to help us and try to figure it out, so. And
Yeah.
we talked insurance, we talked leases, we talked,
buildings, yeah.
Just
And
to
I
give you just a chance to brag on Jennifer, because I know she won't do it herself. I get the opportunity to have this set up with a lot of our offices where there's a local agent that's in the community, that's involved, that knows the people, and then our team supports and knows the markets, and nobody does a better job in our entire organization with understanding insurance, being involved, really caring about the
hang on,
entities
Joe, we want
themselves.
to out the door.
Hey,
Bye,
I'm
Joe.
just, it's my only opportunity to do it once a year is in this meeting, so it's, she does a great
How
job.
much today?
I guess I earned lunch today, Joe. Right?
There you go.
I appreciate that. But no, we appreciate all of your time. I mean, this has been a project, and again, I really believe that we're setting you on course for the future and making this a simpler process moving forward. I know that 28.64 is not a great number, but I feel like we set the budget up appropriately for you. We're not gonna come back and say we've got another scare or something coming. You know what's going on with the law center, you know what's going on with Together We Build. We're getting those leases cleaned up. You have a process moving forward with that. You have great contacts within ICAP as well for resources. When we start getting some of those buildings up and going, we can do the safety control stuff. We can utilize them. I mean, that's part of what you're paying this premium for, is for those services. So let's continue to tap into them and make them utilize those processes.
Well, we appreciate again, both of your oversights and vision to say this is what it's coming to, and we keep up with the times here,
So the last thing that we need from you all today is to agree to pay that contributions letter and that you'll mail them a check.
Yeah, what needs to happen is there's a commitment to continue membership form that needs to be signed. We need to have that in by the renewal. And then the actual contribution does not need to be paid. It needs to be received by ICAP no later than 1 month after the anniversary date. So you're a 3/1 anniversary. So the payment doesn't need to be received until 4/1, but they do need the commitment to continue membership form completed by the anniversary. It's just a signature saying we're going to continue to stay with ICAP for the next year, essentially.
So we do need action on that.
I'll make a motion to continue staying with ICAP and to pay our renewal before 4/1.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the ICAP insurance renewal as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye opposed. Motion carried. Thank you both.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Good luck today at the
Enjoy the
game.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see y'all.
We got a local team. We got a local team out there next Monday, so.
Love it. Boys?
Boys, Catholic school and Bellevue over along the river in Jackson County here, yeah, so.
I grew up in Clinton, Iowa. I played basketball for Princeton East. I used to play against Bellevue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their only loss is to Northland, who's rated number 1, so it'll be exciting.
Are you driving the bus?
I'm not.
Oh.
I have a little.
Good luck to them. Thank you for the time today. I appreciate it.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, guys. We'll
All
keep
right,
working.
well. Run over slightly. Can you get out the door, you think, okay, or? Welled up a little bit. Jeremy and Mr. John,
Thank you.
looking for an update. Yeah, but we guess we discussed pay applications this morning. And
birthday boy here today.
happy birthday. 52 and running.
Yeah, well, this is Ian Harper too, another one of the project managers for Midwest Construction. You'll probably see him around the site.
Okay.
Okay.
Steve, nice to meet you.
There you go.
Reinforcement?
Yeah, so it should go twice as
Inspector?
quick.
You can inspect whatever he wants.
So, as far as, Jackson County Fairgrounds, carpet's all down. We're waiting for the kitchen equipment. It's been coming in and we're setting the state fire marshal up. Probably for the first week in March.
Let me interject something here that I actually just learned this morning. So we can't get a final inspection on the kitchen until the tables come in because they have outlets in them. So Stickley cannot get their final electrical. They've got the final for the building, but they can't get the final for the kitchen until the tables come in. And I can't get a good answer out of Rapids as to exactly when that's. It's been trickling in all last week. I've got a freezer coming today between 11 and 3. So, I mean, it's coming in, but yeah, we can't. So we can't really schedule for occupancy if we want to shoot for the kitchen and everything all at the same time until those tables come in. He does, however, have the Ansel hood all wired up and everything, shunt trip breaker, all that. And I talked to Austin Cahill this morning from Crawford. And he's gonna go ahead and schedule the Ansel guy and the factory startup people, probably the first part of next week to get that certified, that hood certified. So that's one more piece of that puzzle. So,
So where do we stand with, like, they were wanting to do something tomorrow?
yeah, we can't do that. So that fell apart on me last week. I tried my best to get that to happen. And I pleaded with Midwest Fire Alarm. And they moved some people around and they could have been there Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning. But Val Reeves with State Code Enforcement couldn't be there on Wednesday. She could have been there Monday or Tuesday, but not Wednesday because she has a standing inspection at the University of Iowa. So it all fell apart with one phone call. And so I broke the news to Dean Engel and they are having their event at the Pearson Center. And they were disappointed and I was too, but it is what it is. I couldn't, you know.
Yeah.
If I could have got them there on the same day, we could have had occupancy.
Like herding cats.
So I went a step further and I called Trevor Kabala, the state fire marshal. And he got pretty angry with me for even asking. I was like, I've seen this happen before where you can have an event with a fire monitor and some of these guys are even firemen. And he was like, absolutely not. And he kind of read me my pedigree on the phone. And I explained to him after that, I said, you know, it's all on this epoxy. We would have been done, you know, a month ago. And I told them way before Christmas, they could have this event, you know, not foreseeing the future. And so then he calmed down, but yeah, that's where we're at there. So it's gonna happen here pretty soon. So
I would anticipate the first, second week of March.
I think that I would hope to see those tables, and I'm gonna try and call Rapids yet today, but I'd love to see them yet this week. I mean, so.
Where are they out of?
Cedar Rapids.
But the equipment wouldn't be coming probably from Cedar Rapids. It would be from the manufacturer. So
That's the thing you get into with this
slow
kitchen
China.
equipment now. You gotta pay part of the bill to get the manufacturer to produce it, and then you gotta pay the rest of the bill for them to get it, and it's coming
And then they
from
still can't tell
different
you when.
locations.
We can't get through the Red Sea, I know.
Yeah,
It's just typical.
so.
Okay.
Well, so you guys envision. You say the first or second week of March,
For Jackson County Fair, yes.
okay, like by the
Hopefully by
15th.
the,
I would
They
sure
got
hope
people
so.
beating down their doors.
Yeah, I would sure hope so, Don. Like I said, I'm gonna try to get a hold of Rapids again today. And I can text you guys an update if I can get some information out of them.
Appreciate it.
I'm pleased.
We're literally just waiting on those tables.
If nothing else, we could always try to get the occupancy
No.
permit on the building.
Yeah,
itself
that's what I.
without
We
having-
could do that.
If we block off the kitchen,
Yeah,
Well, what that would then require is another trip out from the inspectors and, would just be state code enforcement and Midwest Fire Alarm, and Midwest Fire Alarm will charge you a trip fee for the second time around. So, I mean, if it comes down to, you know, brass tacks where we gotta get them in there for something minus the kitchen, then we can go down that road. At this point, I think it would be wise, you know what I mean, to just get it all if we can, just one shot. So
I would anticipate those tables should be coming there ordered a while ago.
I would hope so. But we'll make some calls. So,
They'll come when you're not ready for them.
They were ready for them in December. so-
Yeah, no, I know, we're not ready to unload them.
You know,
yeah, it would get them off there no matter what. As far as the jail, you know, we're in a little bit more cleanly environment out there. The electricians have got between 75% and 90% of the security wire pulled. Got stronghold out there putting locks in, getting some glass, security glass put in and stuff. So we're just about ready to pull the trigger on getting the security electronics guys out there, start setting up the rack and programming, hooking up doors and stuff like that. So it's coming around. A lot of finishes are the admin, the paint's all touched up and redone and looking good.
final paint.
Final paint, yeah. Mhm.
So percentage of total build, what percentage are we? Are we 90%? We 80%?
I wouldn't
I'd
say
say,
90.
I would say 80, 75,
75, 80 probably.
80%, yeah,
With an estimated completion date of
into April.
like beginning of April, end of April?
End of April.
Probably by the time it's all said and done, the end of April, by the time you get all the bugs worked out.
Training, open house, you know.
Oh, that's all. I'm talking about just done and they can start moving in and all that stuff. When's occupancy, I guess?
That would be total occupancy into April and.
Jail inspector won't give you occupancy without everything absolutely 100% complete. But, I mean, we get some floor covering down up in the administration side, and I got a little bit of stuff yet going on before that, but not a lot. I mean, they can start moving some desks and stuff like that into the, you know, if they chose to do so.
You just don't wanna get the floor covering down too early. We're afraid to put ceiling tiles out because every time you put the ceiling tiles in, everybody says, yep, we're done up there. And then you come up there and there's 50 ceiling tile out and then they're chipped or something. So stuff that it's only gonna take a minor amount, but needs protection. Like to wait till you're ready to move in, you know, sort of deal. So,
I would like to get some epoxy going on here pretty quick and up in the administration though. I think we're to that point where we can really get that going.
washer dryers coming in, they're finishing up the high density storage, pistol racks. All, lockers and all that.
That'll be complete tomorrow.
So, I mean, there's a lot going on in there right now, but, as far as the jail section, we want a pretty much dust-free environment in the control room. For your set, before you set any equipment in there and stuff,
We
so.
were gonna start setting stairs today and Sean Girardi texted me this morning. He has a flu. He's throwing up. So
I saw him sitting there, so
you saw him.
the stairs and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have them all. We have everything. And Sean was due to come out this morning, but he texted me early. He was woke up throwing up, so. Hopefully he'll get to feeling better here in a day or so.
Yeah.
So.
No space. in the-
Okay, well, we
space in the
appreciate
shed.
it.
You reviewed pay requests
Well,
and you know.
until tomorrow.
We
I get all
went
the
through the
bugs.
claims and approved the claim, so that's done.
But we got a lot of the Sally Port cleaned out too, so a lot of those bunks will go out in the Sally Port. You're talking for them desks and that,
Yeah.
Don.
If
We can get them in there.
We start going through week by layers a little bit and kind of start filtering that stuff out.
Here's the deal, those bunks are powder coated. If they have to sit outside for a few days, it's not gonna hurt anything.
Who is that? Is that for the?
My bunks sat outside in Delaware County,
Sign
so,
those 3
and the
copies.
only thing it did is it rained on them a little bit. We had to wipe them all
How
down.
heavy are they?
They're heavy.
Well, I just think, as with, together with those getting close, if we can start kind of.
You want
filtering out
today's
within
date
the
on-
Peace Pipe players. and
That's
knowing
fine.
That's
We don't
fine.
care if it goes in the Sally Port or that.
I'd rather have it in the shed so that we can continue working the Sally Port. We gotta paint that sucker here one of these days, and everything, so. But, yeah, let's, I don't know when you wanna.
Well, we cleaned that shed out, get some empty pallets and boxes out. of it.
Yeah,
We can
but-
fit them in there too.
We can fit them in there, but I was telling Don, I've got bunks coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
But those bunks can sit, if some of them have to sit outside, it's not gonna hurt them.
Mine sat outside my last one. I did.
Yeah, they're powder
Like,
coated.
maybe got snowed on everything and never just.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt them, so.
Well, whatever it takes, we won't get excited.
It's just the front page in each one, like,
Just on the front page?
yep.
I think there's
Thinking
so
like
many
next
behind it.
week or something.
I don't know.
That's all.
Maybe I
in
just-
We need to start kind of.
Yeah.
We know who's getting what.
Get that out of there.
There's more of these. for
Because-
Jackson
Yep.
County Fair.
We don't
I
want,
got a cargo trailer too, you can borrow it or something.
Any questions from
Day room.
law enforcement back here?
Mhm.
Brent?
Nope.
Andrew? Nope.
They were,
Aren't the cells done? The cells are done in a couple areas, right?
yeah, for what,
The install the main things.
Yeah.
Well, strongholds are.
the epoxy's not down.
Oh,
We wasn't putting the epoxy on the day room floors until the stairs went in. I want to get the epoxy on the mezzanines.
Are you using the second company or the first company that you used with together?
No, it's totally different company.
yeah.
A new company.
No, they're not new, so they've got the showers done at the jail and everything. They done a really nice job.
They're stacked different there if you wanna.
Yeah, that's okay. It's the Jackson County Fair.
yep, thank you.
If you guys want to come out this afternoon, stop by.
Well, I'll see what time we get out of here and,
Maybe on Thursday.
appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
I might buy a taco or something.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
That's big of you.
Okay, we gotta turn this thing back over, waiting for Jack and,
Didn't hear from Barry, so I haven't heard that.
why you gotta get going? Okay, we will shake a short recess at this time. We will reconvene at this time and we are joined with Mr. Jack Willie and Lynn Bopes for our Jackson County Coordinator for Disability Services. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
So once again, we're here with the report from the Mental Health Region's Governing Board meeting yesterday, and you were there on board too, right? And so it was a pretty straightforward meeting for the most part. Routine business as usual. David gave us financial report and talked about using Baker Tilly again for the next 2 years for the auditing purposes for the mental health region. And the board did set a budget work session for the budget for FY25 for March 7th.
Which will be the last one we'll prepare.
Yes. Which kind of leads us into the, I would say, the most interesting part of the meeting, if you will, and Lori's review of the status of the realignment through the Health and Human Services that's going on right now. I think we touched on this a little bit the last month. And actually, the bill is out now. There was a Senate study bill. It was reviewed. It did make it to the Senate. I don't know that there were really very many major amendments to the original study bill. And so now I have not heard any feedback yet from the Senate. So this is the bill that will bring about significant change to the mental health world across the state of Iowa. The current region system that we have will sunset June 30th of 2025, and July 1st of 2025, the system will become a 7-district behavioral health system. And you guys chime in with whatever I'm missing or clarification. In essence, currently, the mental health regions manage funds that pay for services and assure that certain services are available in the world of mental health. And we also do some funding in cases for individuals with some disabilities, intellectual disability, maybe suffering a brain injury or a developmental disability. When the behavioral health districts come in, all of the things that we do associated with those individuals with disabilities will be leaving the purview of the behavioral health district, and they will go under an organization called an Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC. And they will be in conjunction with agencies that also serve the aging population. Hence the name Aging and Disability Resource Centers. This is actually an initiative that was started at the federal level. 2008, I believe, maybe 2014, I'm not quite sure which year, but it's been around in some other states. And so that particular move is not something unique to Iowa. Under the behavioral health districts, it will be the mental health funding, and then also bring in substance use agencies and gambling and tobacco money. And I say brings in that money because it will be the behavioral health district who will oversee the expenditures and the providers doing services within this respective 7 districts. And that will include any federal money, from what I understand, that typically comes to the state for tobacco cessation, gambling, substance use, and also the money that currently the state is providing to the regions. And they will continue to provide that money in fiscal year 25, but starting July 1st of 2025, there will be behavioral health districts that will be managed by an entity called an Administrative Service Organization, or an ASO. Each district will be overseen and governed by an ASO. One ASO could cover more than one district. The ASO is going to be identified, or ASOs, by a request for a proposal that will come out in November or December. Selection will happen December, January, thereabouts. And they will then be the authority and the overseer starting July 1st of 2025.
So what I've seen I've seen our region or our district remains intact.
It remained the same. It's still the same 5 counties. And we were very fortunate that they did not include any other counties with us.
Well, from what I see, what do we have? Seven counties?
Five.
Only five counties, and some of these have 24 counties.
Right.
Yes.
Right, and that's kind of what we talked about, as we've said several times, transportation is a big issue. Well, now some of these people you got 200-300 miles that they could have to travel depending on where the center hub is. And
Or where the
If-
service provider
where
is
the
that
service
they need.
provider is, and
Somebody
if
might
they're,
live in the far corner of southern
right, be in the
Iowa,
opposite
and the
corner.
only place they can get is in Iowa City.
And as when
And
we were
it's-
out in Des Moines here last month, and they, Dr. Garcia was talking about, well, you can go into another county. Well, you still have to, we have to have an agreement with that other county. And, it could not be the same cost values and stuff for your county also.
But
We
that'll
can
be
do
the
that.
responsibility of the ASO
Right,
to negotiate all those contracts.
right,
And as we know it now, it will not exist.
right. I mean, the
So,
traveling thing really
Is that
scares
gonna put
me.
everything on hold for about a year while they find the ASO, then the ASOs negotiate the contracts and?
I was surprised when Lori told us yesterday they weren't gonna even go out for.
They're
Yeah.
ramming this in like 5 months.
RFPs to,
November,
December?
December, January, and that gives you less than 6 months to really delve into it and have them be able to be up and ready to start July 1st.
so do we have any idea as far as positions or?
No.
What, like Lori or yourself or?
I specifically asked that if we would still have a coordinator of services. It's unknown whether we will. Apparently Lori will not be there
Well,
unless ASOs hire her.
Well, she could still do the RFP, well,
right.
Well, she
mental
could be an
health
AS,
region-
she could be an ASO, that.
Mental health regions could apply to become an ASO. About the only entity that's really precluded, from my understanding at this point in time, from applying to become designated as an ASO is a provider of services because of the conflict. There'd be a financial conflict of interest.
So that
Because,
eliminates the Robert Young from applying.
Right.
Who provides the majority of our crisis services.
So what happens to them contracts?
well, they all have, I believe they're all based on fiscal year with, as
Okay.
Robert Young Center calls it, an evergreen clause, which means they
Okay.
can automatically renew if nobody, either party doesn't step forward and want to either amend it or
Cause I know we have
discontinue it.
contracts with Robert Young, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so those would all end June 30th. Now, the ASOs will be the ones doing the contracting with providers.
Of 25.
No, fiscal year 26. Fiscal year 25 is gonna be business as usual,
Right.
is
Just
what they're telling, it's gonna be just like today.
24, yeah, that's.
Fiscal year 25 will be business, that's why Jack said fiscal year 25 budget is the last year well, it's the last year that the governing board will exist, because you'll have a district defined by the state, you'll have an ASO assigned to that district that is responsible for everything that goes on. And underneath that, you will just have an advisory council, no longer will have a governing board. And that advisory council will be made up of 9 people, 3 elected officials. Not to be confused with the thought that that automatically means elected county boards of supervisors. It just means elected officials.
Anybody that's elected, it could be a mayor, it could be a school board member, city council member. It doesn't have to be a member of the board of supervisors.
And then 3 people that are providers of services from within that district, and then 3 people that either receive services or are relatives of people that receive services.
Is
So
there
that
anybody that they're gonna put over the ASOs?
they will be under the
State
umbrella of
level?
HHS.
Under the Department of Health and Human
Right.
Services.
So it'll be HHS, ASOs, and then the providers underneath that. Currently, I would say it's HHS, the mental health regions, and then the providers. So. But, I mean, certainly the local voice is losing a lot of its influence. And we all know that advisory committees and councils are not always able to really affect a
Much
lot of
input.
influence.
But
And that
we're-
could,
We're finding with the seventh judicial has kind of went that way. We're just kind of the advisory.
okay, yeah,
You kind of, you keep abreast of what's going on,
Yeah.
but you don't really get to do any steering of a direction whatsoever.
And in actuality, those 9 people could absolutely know nothing about mental health
Right.
and what's been going on for the last, our region started in 2014. So we've been there 10 years and building our services and providing services to those people in need. So it's gonna be
so
eye-opening, I think.
it'll be interesting. So besides, the whole RFP process to get an ASO in place, the state has not, well, first of all of this has to be legislated. So that's the first step. And until the ink is dry by the governor's pen, we really don't know the fine details of all of this. Once that happens, then, and I'm sure they're working on it now, but the state has to write a plan for this whole process, which is not done yet. And then each district has the ability to has to write their own plan.
But I can tell you to date, the Health and Human Service Council has not been kept abreast as to what's going on. We have not discussed it at our monthly meetings.
Kelly spoke at, like I said, to our last event in Des Moines, and it was interesting.
Lori is putting together a 1-page talking document so that we have some information that we can give to our legislators. I know at our county convention, I talked to Chris Canoyer and Steve Bradley and Merlin Mumpson. And, just basically took them out in the hall and told them my concerns with what's happening. And so they were wanting to know if we could put together some information. So I talked to Lynn talked to Lori, and I don't know if that's why she's doing this, but I think gives us some insight as to what she perceives as being problems in the new.
Well, I think everybody needs to do that. I mean, you gotta have it, your talking points ready and available. I mean, whether you get them answered, but this is why, these are our concerns in this area. They might be different in northeast,
Certainly.
northwest, north.
And my concern is if somebody needs services, where will they go now? They won't have Lynn to coordinate those services for them or to get them in line for services. I don't know who's gonna.
Well, obviously, they gotta have an answer for that.
Well, if they follow work.
Sheriff's Department can do it.
Model, they'll have a computer set at the library that.
Oh, yeah.
He's listening. He's
Whoopie
listening.
ding. The library will love that.
Yeah.
well, I think the idea that the state has is that these ASOs will have one point of contact. They call it a single portal access design.
Yeah.
Kind of what they say, like the golden door.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you call this one number and then hopefully they know what path to take you
Yeah.
down from your phone call, which is obviously, we all know is different when you sit and talk face to face with somebody that you may think they're having this, but it's really stemmed from something else, maybe a financial crisis
Mhm.
or something that they're really not having this breakdown. It's just they need the right direction somewhere else, so.
The bigger problem might be, once they get this all in place, you still have to have personnel to do it. So there's gotta be people available and to hire and if it's all unknown for another,
Well, the providers are here today and likely will continue beyond July 1st of 2025. I mean, in terms of, it's a matter of one of the things the state is saying is nobody knows where to go get services. I'm not sure that I would
Agree with that.
paint that brush that
Yeah.
broadly, yeah. But the idea is with the golden door, the single door of access, which has been a concept that DHS has had for years, no wrong door, they used to call it. And then just as Nen explained, whoever you're talking to at that location knows all the resources. In fact, back in 2014 and 15, there was an effort to do the statewide lifelong links hotline through Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging, and that was to be that same concept, was that if you were aging and needed something, you call this lifelong links hotline. Jack might remember that from the early days of the region. And they would be able to tell you where to go. And so the people doing the services, the agencies will still be there.
And they'll still exist.
It's just a
They'll still
matter of how
provide
to,
services.
right. Mhm.
Yeah, service they get, because you go and get NEI 3A, which you just referenced now they don't actually have meals being made, they got meals being made somewhere and mailed, and you just stick them in a microwave, and there's losing a lot of personal contact. And that kind of health and wellness check is kind of.
Yep.
Because sometimes those people needing these services need a little bit of contact.
They need that hands-on
Right.
from somebody that,
Well, and somebody seeing them
yeah,
may make a difference of, oh, you need
Mhm.
more than just this meal coming in here, you know, type of
Right.
thing, and
Yeah.
can go back and relay that where.
No, I certainly see all of that as the risk to this. I mean, the one good thing that hopefully will come out of it is the blending of services from the substance use arena and the mental health, because we all know that for so many
Together.
people, they struggle with both situations. That I think, you know, is potentially something that we'll be able to build on here, but I'm concerned about rural Iowa in general with things like this, and every time it comes up, somebody mentions workforce development. I think somebody did again yesterday at a governing
we
board
did,
meeting.
yeah.
And now you mentioned 7th Judicial District. There's a trend here, and it's not favorable to the citizens of the rural areas.
It's not favorable to anybody that believes that you should have some kind of local control.
Mm-hmm.
Takes that all away from us.
And
And
Can I ask, so where's the sheriff's seat at the table in this ASO and stuff? Because this is something the Sheriff's Association is very interested in, because mental health affects us directly.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times the jails end up becoming the bed for the mental health
Right.
people. And that doesn't work.
But we do, at the present time, we do have somebody on our governing board from law enforcement. She hasn't been there in the last 2 months, but
Lisa Dufour
From
the
Cedar County.
police chief in
Not
Tipton.
Yeah, but see, police chiefs don't understand. I mean,
No.
they're not involved in mental health like sheriff's offices are.
Right, so I guess, you know, as much ability as anybody has, and I would imagine your sheriff's association is already doing this, to watch the legislation, stay abreast of it, what they're putting into the legislation, what they're taking out of it, you know, because it will be shaped by the legislation. That's where it's gonna start first, because they're gonna take away the whole chapter that addresses mental health regions. I think is one of the things that's proposed, you know, to sunset June 30th of 25. So watching the legislation, and then just keeping in touch, I would say, with who's identified as the ASO for the individual to cover that county that a person is in, and establish a relationship with that ASO.
well, and again, that's where you or your sheriff's association needs to be, I would say, also reaching out to your
Legislators.
legislative
Right.
departments.
I'll guarantee you that if we have 5 counties in our region, every sheriff's gonna say, I wanna be a part of that ASO, because we're the ones that suffer the consequences of the system not working.
So the
So-
way to be a part of it, to my estimation, one way is to have a relationship, a rapport with that ASO. And every individual sheriff can do that. The other way to try to be a part of it, even though it's advisory only, is to see if you can get an elected official like a sheriff as one of the 3 elected officials on that committee or council. I think they're gonna call it a council, I'm not sure. I think publicly, those are the avenues to stay in touch with what's going on.
I didn't mean to hijack the conversation, but I
No.
will also say that, you know, with not having a person in the office, it's like veteran affairs. If veterans can't walk in the door and have somebody help them with that paperwork, they're not gonna do it. People don't have internet, they may not even have cell phones.
Mhm.
In that situation with mental health, it's like when you take somebody to a hospital who's having mental health issues, and they tell the doctor I'm fine, and the doctor turns around and says they're fine, turn them loose. It's like, that doesn't work. So anyway, I'll support you in that, and I'll be quiet.
Well, and it's an issue too for family members who have somebody that has a mental problem. Where do they go to try to seek help for that individual? I mean, I think that there's some. I told Lynn when she made a copy of it for me, I said I wore out a yellow highlighter going through it and marking off what I had concerns about. And there's a lot of things that we all have concerns about. And mainly our concern is for those that are receiving the services.
So the last thing I would mention in terms of the language so far is, the administrative cap for the expenses for that ASO is at 7% of the total budget. So I would suggest at that point that it's gonna be a lean and mean kind of organization that can keep their administrative costs at 7% right now. Now that, from what I understood from Lori yesterday, was in the governor's original bill, so that actually has to go back to a conversation with the governor for her willingness to consider maybe removing that any kind of a percentage, or at a minimum, at least increasing it.
Cause they talked about not wanting the percent in the bill. As we all know, as costs go up and that percent's there,
Yeah.
it can cause issues,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah, I can understand having something in there just because of the fact it seems like a lot of these organizations, eventually their administrative cost to administer the programs
Kind of,
exceeds the actual help they can give out.
Mm-hmm.
kind of what's going on in another area as we've heard.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
so.
So I guess, as I've said on different topics in all my years of being here, stay tuned and. I'll
They
be back.
do, I knew that was
They do.
coming.
Well, when we get the talking points, we'll make sure
Yeah.
that you get a copy of it.
Yeah.
So that you can,
And I
help
think,
us.
I think some
You
of
know.
that, if I'm not mistaken, in the conversation yesterday, kind of came from. Jim Irwin
Mhm.
was talking to the legislation and they're like, okay, you're throwing a lot of things out. We need a one-page thing that we can bring forward.
Yeah.
To talk about versus. A 5-page document or a 20-page document, they're not gonna read that coming from other people. They'll give it to you, but they ain't gonna read it coming from other people,
Right.
Well, I
so.
appreciate everything you do, but it seems like for the last year, you've been reporting on the shifting sand and what it looks like when it's really windy out.
Yeah.
No two reports are the same, unfortunately.
No.
And they haven't
No.
settled yet either.
No,
No.
and it won't settle for a few months,
Right.
It's the
obviously.
sandstorm on the horizon.
There is, yeah. Yeah,
And
it's gonna get
it,
windier.
it's not just this, it's gonna be the same thing with ECI.
Yep,
Early Childhood Iowa. They're changing
Mhm.
so many things. Our
like I said,
AAA.
judicial was first, now mental health, and then ECI will roll in.
Yeah,
We talk about the local control, we literally got told in the 7th judicial, do not bring that word up again.
And the decap board, same way. I mean, we talked about it last week, it's the first time we met for a while, but yeah, they're in limbo themselves, which services will they, it took a lot away from them already, but.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
it's
Some of it, yeah,
kind of scary.
Well, we hope that there's common
Like,
sense involved here and that it's. I guess we're not in reinventing the wheel because it has worked somewhere else apparently, or maybe it's working, I don't know, but hopefully it comes for the better, that's what we want.
I've had a couple different states thrown up at me and. They were.
Well, I think that if there's enough citizens
Wasn't
that
right.
communicate with their legislators, maybe they can get some changes.
To be
like
honest,
ADA
it's
did.
easy enough to text them or send them an email. The legislative updates are actually good every Thursday there. They actually spell out what's going on a little bit, so the important stuff anyway.
Yeah.
And actually the news 10 o'clock at night, they get after it too a little bit, so.
They're hitting the railroad people right now.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, well,
Very
thanks.
much.
Appreciate it. Yep, have a good day.
Send Nate in. Yeah, he's doing.
Bye.
All right, Todd.
Good day.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Take care. All right.
I got it.
Nate.
Well, we'll get them two guys together here at the same time.
I might let Jeannie sit up there. I'll sit next to Mary.
Jeannie?
You gotta do departmental update.
Oh, yeah.
No, well, we're gonna discuss, we're gonna discuss our other things because we talked about department updates. They didn't have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we could skip it.
More posts, I saw.
What?
Spring Street, you got more posts in the harbor.
Yeah, few.
Well, good morning. So we have Nathan Jones, Conservation Director. We have Mr. Todd Keeney, Jackson County Engineer, and Jeannie Collins Hare, our Jackson County Weed Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. And we're here to discuss maybe some policies or procedures and what we're at and where we're doing and so on and so forth. Who wants to start?
I don't know, Todd, if you want me to, so
I seen a couple, three different proposals or a couple
Yeah,
different
we-
talking points anyway, but
we kind of sat down in Todd's office and me, Jeannie, and Todd, and Jaden was in there. Discussed what our capabilities are right now currently for our roadside. In Jackson County to try to get invasive species under control and some of the woody encroachment in our county roadsides. With what we have, I think Todd sent an email estimating, I did a little research after that on a few things, but estimating, if we were to target the whole county, where we can get, how fast we can get there. I think we might have different viewpoints on how to do some things, and Todd will agree. Conservation minded always is a little different than other people and, how we can go about it. So I think it's good to hear from both of us and hear what direction we are. And Jeannie's here too. But I guess that meeting, we kind of discussed spot spraying, broadcast spraying, or doing nothing at all, kind of where we're at, how we get things into shape. We know if we do nothing at all in this county, what's gonna happen. We're gonna continue getting woody encroachment, the dogwood, the sumac, box elder in our road ditches already. And secondary roads has been very aggressive this winter, taking after some of that. With their new machine, I would say. Seems like you're seeing them running somewhere, working on woody encroachment. And then Jeannie's done some cutting herself, but the next step is what do we do after we cut it? Cause we know you cut something, it's gonna grow back. You cut some of the species that I would wish they hadn't cut, cause I know what they cut, 40 are gonna come back from the one stump. Just knowing that species of tree. But that's just the way it is. We're gonna have to attack it afterwards somehow or another. Chemical, different management projects, just cutting at different times of the year. So, Todd has I know he's reached out and he's done some of this before in Clinton County on the spraying side and had a bunch of the numbers. But I think what came down to is that Jeannie, don't be afraid to pipe up, but we have a 60-gallon tank is what we have. We bought out of our weed commissioner funds probably 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know the dates. And we've been just spot spraying stuff here the last few years, we're taking a gradual approach at some of this roadside management stuff. We know our capabilities we aren't gonna get to everything with that tank. Jeannie has to get out, roll hose out, walk down and spray everything. Get back, roll the hose back in, drive 100 yards, get out, spray everything. Which is great in a sense that we know we're not over applying chemical on a roadside. In some ways, and we're not putting something in the road ditch that's a residual. We're not killing multiple species that maybe we would like to see in our road ditches. So, but I feel like I'm doing all the talking, so I'm gonna let Todd take his stance here and we'll can kind of go back and forth.
And so like, Nate had mentioned, we've been doing, an increased amount of tree and brush clearing. Now the intent would be, we've been given, Jeannie maps of where we're doing that, and then once come spring, early summer, once they start to get a lot of regrowth, we'll do like a full year application to control that. So that's kind of, in my mind, that's like separate. We'll have to do that, I think, regardless. I think the last time we talked, you guys kind of tasked me with like, hey, if we want to have an increased level of effort, say for next weed control, what does that look like? So, you know, I met with Nate, Jeannie, and Jade, and we talked about kind of 3 basic options, I think. And that's what I sent to you in the email. The first one was, you know, let's increase our effort on, like, say, the paved drilling system only. And in conversations with Jeannie and Nate, they thought they could accommodate that increase in like service or effort without any additional equipment or staff. We would just need to budget for some extra chemical to go out and treat, spend more time treating. The other option we looked at was spot spraying the entire county. That's, I mean, so you're talking about 800 center line miles, roughly 1,600 miles, because you drive each side of the road. Based on like what Nate just said, a 60-gallon tank, you know, they couldn't really effectively cover that much area in the optimum weed spraying window. So, and really to try and make that option come to fruition, we'd have to like add a staff member, purchase a truck, you know, with a much larger tank, that kind of thing, with the controls and all that kind of stuff, and up the chemical purchase too. And we estimated that around, I mean, these are obviously estimates, but we haven't priced any equipment, but just looking at some purchase price of some older equipment that we bought and just adding like an inflationary amount to get to today's dollar to be around 300,000. The next option was to spot spray half the county each year. And again, same concerns. Doesn't really feel like they could tie up, you know, Jeannie's time doing that. Basically, she'd have to do that nonstop from, you know, depending on whether it could be mid-April through June, just depends. And you couldn't do it with equipment. She has a 60-gallon tank. She'd be spending all of her time filling up with chemical and mixing and that kind of thing. So same kind of thing. We'd have to add staff and add equipment to do that. So the other option I looked at, I got a price from B&W, who's a contractor that does the right-of-way spraying in Clinton County. And they said that they would spot spray the entire county for around $46,000. We would still have to supply them the chemical, so it's probably another $20,000 on top of that. Or they could spot spray half the county and broadcast spray the other half. That would be around $49,000. And then you'd have to run through a little more chemical, because broadcast spraying means you're spraying before you see weeds. Spot spraying is you see a weed, you spray a weed. Broadcast is you're applying chemical
all the way down the road.
Yep. So you're gonna, I think we estimated around 30,000 in chemical for that. So those are their numbers were laid out. That's kind of what you had tasked me to do. We put it on this work session, so we're here
Be in
to.
addition to what Jeannie's doing and stuff, if we.
I would say what I could see her role in that is like still being the weed commissioner, but like when you get individual weed complaints, or she sees something that is there that the say
Maybe whatever we sprayed didn't work.
didn't take, she goes back out and does like cleanup.
Like if it needs a tort on versus just a.
Targeting.
Yeah, so she would be more specific, targeting like where we see hot spots or a lot of weed pressure, she'd go out, take care of that still. I think that would still be a reasonable thing for you to.
So when you say spot spray and or broadcast, would Jeannie be present at the time, or they go out, or are they naturalists? Do they know what they're spraying? I mean, I've drove down Clinton County roads and it seems pretty good as far as brush and weeds and whatnot.
So you need a category 6 pesticide applicator license to spray chemical in the right of way.
Roadside right away.
Yeah, so none of the guys in the secondary road department have that. So these contractors, we sent out a request for quote. So one of the requirements in the quote would be that they have to have this category 6 license. So that gives them the training, licensing to go out and spray chemical in the right of way.
How long have you used them in Clinton County?
Ooh, I'm gonna say 7 years.
Do they spray yearly?
Yeah. once
Did
a
they
year.
broadcast spray? Or do they spot spray?
So what we do is, each year, half the county gets broadcast sprayed and the other half gets spot sprayed, and then we just flip flop the next year. The other half gets broadcast, the other half.
Any complaints from farmers for?
So the way we set up their RFQ, the request for quote, is that if there's any complaints for overspray or crop damage, all those go to the contractor and they have to pay them out.
Grandma's roses too?
So you'll have to have, if you go through this, then what you have to do is you'll send out a notice probably in the paper and say, hey, look, if you don't want your ditch sprayed, you have to,
Apply by a certain date.
you need to let us know, and then what Clinton County does is we issue no spray signs and they put them up and you don't spray. Now, if you put up no spray signs, then any weed or any brush that's in there, that's up to the property owner to take care of.
And if they don't,
Then we can do it and charge them.
So what good does this do us?
I'm not sure. Whatever it is, it's not effective, I would say that.
We've had it
we
for
haven't
years.
been. Haven't
We've had it
been
for years and years and years and years.
obnoxious weed.
Noxious
control.
weed control or the resolution, and it includes brush and all these things that we add to it.
It's kind
And
of what.
it says that the landowner is responsible.
I've never seen it.
for the right of way. What do you mean? Yeah, we added things to it last year. We talked
When
about
Jimmy
adding
comes in,
the.
that's kind of the
Oh,
resolution
that
we
is
do.
that. Okay, never mind. I thought it was something.
Well, yeah, I would say
Yeah, I mean, it
it's
states
not
in here.
very effective.
So,
at this
is
It's
point.
not
even
effective
legal?
because we don't
By
enforce it.
Code, I don't think we could have that resolution on right away. I don't know if that's even a legal resolution.
So chapter 318, the
Provision
noxious
of
weed law
chapter
puts
3.
responsibility on the board of supervisors. I don't know if you could legally transfer your responsibility to somebody else.
Well, it's been in place for a lot of years.
Well, then you get the whole issue of what we're dealing with now with our tree clearing. Okay, the responsibility comes to us, we're trying to deal with it. Then we're getting told, well, by the state law, them are my trees, you can't do anything with them.
Well, we could cut them down if they affect the drainage or the clear zone. You have to have a reason to remove the tree. So just saying you don't want trees in the right of way, technically, that's been shown that that's not
Appropriate.
a reason to do that. But if they're in the forest slope, they're in the clear zone, or if they're obstructing drainage, or they're leaning over potential hazard, you absolutely can cut them. You don't need permission. You can go in there and do that. So you guys just need to decide what you want to do.
Yeah. I will say,
So nobody has budgeted for this, correct?
and I reached out to, you guys did that resolution, IRBM 2 weeks ago, probably. So I just kind of reached out and questioned a few things. That's the reason IRBM was invented or created in the state through a state bill, is try to eliminate broadcast spraying of our ditches, to try to do a multi-use way of taking on. And that's probably a different viewpoint between me and Todd, is we want to see not just brome grass, canary grass, which is an invasive species in a conservation mindset. What you see in a ditch, when you broadcast spray, you're eliminating all diversity in that road ditch. You're creating it, you're getting rid of all the broadleaves, which is what it probably creates in a way. But we would like to see, forbs and flowers and stuff or everything else. We just need to figure out how we can remove the trees. I think the spot spraying is the way to go. Then you're not just putting something in there as a residual. We get a rainfall. We have a lot of creeks in this county.
Mm-hmm. A lot of bridges too.
A lot of stuff that I don't want to see us have a fish kill or something come from it. We don't know what, humans are horrible. We don't know what the chemicals truly do in the long run of things. That's the conservation minded versus not. I don't want to step on Todd's feet. That's just kind of.
Well, I would think, I guess, and maybe I'm totally thinking wrong, I'm thinking what we would be spraying in our ditches.
It's rated roadside. It would have to be labeled
and Jeannie could say, there's very few chemicals that are actually rated roadside versus what a farmer could put on his field 10 feet from it. Which is another issue, is 10 years down the road, do we cause a resistance? Cause and then we don't have another chemical we can put out there if we're just broadcast spraying. We've seen it because we've already done it on our park lots. We were using the same chemical over and over and over. And now we can't kill 3 or 4 species. In our parks, we're like, well, what do we do now? So that's why I don't know. That's my, I don't want to, I feel like I'm stepping.
Not if you don't have time,
to
though.
be that guy.
He's a large bean.
I'm sorry.
So,
That's fine.
I don't know, Jeannie, you have any
Do what you have.
comment?
Yeah, I guess I lean towards the broadcast too, or I mean, the spot spray too, not so much the broadcast. You kind of killing everything out there and defeat the purpose of having a roadside plan.
Well, you see a lot of roadsides and a lot of different places putting in the pollinator stuff and that kind of stuff. And if you broadcast spray, that will kind of defeat
Yeah.
a lot of that. But you gotta weigh back and forth. Need to quit bringing in, oh, this is a magic new fence. We don't ever need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These in.
Well, who knows?
but they
what
don't-
humans
they
are gonna
don't do
bring
that.
next. We're horrible.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, the spot spraying, obviously would be less costly too, because you're using less chemical for sure. And you're not spraying something that you don't see. The spot spraying, mind you, now, the timing of it is very paramount because you want to spray it while it's actively growing, but before it goes to seed, because spraying something after it goes to seed, you just wasted your time and money, so.
Yeah, but the time and weather and that's the thing. You could get a really good year or you could have a horrible year and you're not succeeding.
It seems like your broadcast spraying, your brush is gonna be a later season thing and your noxious weeds are gonna be an early season thing. So what are we out there broadcast killing at the time? Are we killing our brush and not the noxious weeds, or are we killing the noxious weeds and not the brush?
I would say what Clinton County puts in, so we use Escort and a combination of Escort and Whetstone. So Escort for the broadcast, Escort and Whetstone for the spot spraying. And I would say most of what we're doing is for noxious weed control. We tweaked up, I think, our rate a little bit, but we don't really get much, I would say, brush control out of the rates we spray. I mean, most of the time, if we're trying to control tree and brush growth, it's because we're doing like actual
Targeted.
stumps treatment kind of stuff. Yeah.
I feel like we're a different county a little bit by our
Well, you are, because we're
model
like,
too.
you guys have a lot, you still have agriculture here, but like
Yeah.
ours are like, a lot of it's just row crop right up to the ditch. And if there's one weed that's coming from the ditch into the guy's field, we hear about
You're
that.
hearing about it,
Yeah.
because
Another thing I guess for you guys, I know Jeannie made a call to Jones County after our meeting. They have their own IRBM program. They do all their spraying. In 2018, they set up a truck and sprayer. You have those prices, Jeannie?
Yep, he said, the 2018 price, like Nate said, the spray equipment on it was 22,000 and the pickup was 53, so.
Probably 80,000, 90,000 for the truck now. And
What was?
you don't need a brand new one. We got a bunch of them in secondary roads, so.
Sprayer flatbed, but they did a lot of the building in their shop too.
Okay.
I don't know how much weight you guys are getting to. I mean, I think it makes sense to have the forest slope. I guess I call it the forest slope right next to the road. You guys have names for it.
Yeah, forest slope is right.
That needs to be clear so people can see stuff coming out of the ditch or,
right.
you have an accident, those are things. Back slopes. Question, how much do if we contract this, how far are they reaching?
Well, we don't really know what the right of way is on any given spot.
Well, that's been a question too.
You don't.
Me and Jeannie are like, is that ours to touch or not?
Yeah, it's sometimes it's a crapshoot. I know like before they started, before Clinton County started with the contractors, they had roadside management department, and I think Andy was running 2 or 3 crews. And they were budgeting around 350,000, I think, somewhere in that range each year. That's labor, that's running 2 trucks. Sometimes 3, but I think most of the time it's just 2. And it kind of, so it was a pretty robust program, and they were getting a lot of feedback about weed pressure and weed issues. And so then I think the board at that time kind of said, well, what other options? So then that's when they looked at having a contractor do it. And they ended up switching to that. I want to say it was like 2000. I'd have to go back and look. Say sometimes 2000, say 14. I don't know. But so we've been doing this for 8, 9 years. I think I said 6, 7, or 8. It might have been longer than that. But that's when and when the first year we did it this way, I think we spent around 78, 80 some thousand. So that was, I mean, it was a big reduction. So they were budgeting out of the rural services 300 some thousand down to whatever. But you guys aren't budgeting that. It's not like this is going to be a savings. This is going to be a cost increase for you. So
How much, can I ask you guys, are you guys getting much complaints? I know we've just been taking baby steps, and your office might take some. I don't think Jeannie's had a lot of, and her roads, most of our next week complaints.
Honestly, I've been getting a lot of compliments on actively cleaning some of the, I mean. The
Yeah,
work that Bobcat is, or that Kubota's doing, I mean, there's a lot of different roadways. There was like, wow, it's kind of nice to see, you know, and all that. That's basically what I've been hearing.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
know
just
if
activity in the ditches.
kind of curious if.
I don't get a lot of, I get
I've
some
gotten
complaints about tree and brush. I get more of like from the ag industry, weed complaints stuff.
Right.
That's more.
So we got the wild cucumber growing in my field. We
Yeah.
gotta get rid of
It's
it.
coming from the ditch.
I don't get a lot of those. I don't know what you guys get. So maybe, if,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get probably 3.
I
last
get them
year,
every
you know?
so often.
Yeah.
I go back to this thing.
1,600 miles of road.
Well, I'm just telling you that I'm going to the county attorney with it and seeing if it's
You
legal.
might want to have John check into that, but I don't know, like.
So I obviously can't agree to, well, I can't obviously, but I guess my point is, I'm not gonna buy a bunch of equipment and a pickup and hire somebody to be doing this, when if I can pay somebody X amount of dollars and have you do it, my liability is with you. Not with me, that's obvious to me that I wanna pass my liability
And
on to somebody else.
And I would just caveat that I still think Jeannie needs to keep her license and
And-
keeps doing what she's
And
doing
I
because.
would agree with that.
Because what we're gonna do for tree and brush control, that's not gonna really happen with a contractor. That has to be her keeping doing what she's doing. Probably at an increased level as we start to do more.
We have 4 staff that are rated right now, but Jeannie's about the only one that gets time to do it. To treat our roadside, actually, well, mine expires.
You got 5 people that are Cat 6 sub-license.
Yeah,
When you said 46,000 to spot spray in Ontario County, but then you said 49,000 to spot and broadcast. They will broadcast the whole county for $3,000.
that'd be half the county,
Half the
right?
county, half county they're spot and half county they're broadcast.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you said you did in Clinton, but you didn't say that when you give us the price.
Another option, they said spot spray half the county and broadcast the other half for 47,000 plus 30,000 per chemical in the email.
Yeah. How big of steps you guys wanna take into this is my question for
Well,
you.
here's the problem. It's
Not
gotta
budgeted.
be budgeted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
There
are-
Plain and simple.
baby steps into it, there's big steps, or?
Well, there's
Go
baby
all the
steps
way?
for us at this point, like I said, we've
Can't
heard
take baby
compliments
steps.
of
They're
what
everybody.
you've done. Gene.
Well,
I can see where
$3,000
you've
what we
been.
got.
I can drive down the road and see where you've been.
Yeah,
And then I hear compliments of what this brush hog is doing and what we're doing with our,
My only concern there
Arm-
is
arm
if
mower.
you're not treating what you're cutting there.
That's why
he has been sending Jeannie
If
maps.
we can, if
We
we
just gotta
can
figure out chemical costs.
spot spray the whole county, and that allows Jeannie to more focus on working with secondary roads to make sure she's hitting where they're.
I think you're still gonna do what you're doing for noxious weed spraying. I think you're still gonna have the opportunity to have to do that too, because, spot spraying you're gonna start to gradually get a little more control, but you're still gonna have the areas that you see that are like, hot spots in the tree. I don't see that going away. So you could get requests for quotes, like say in November of this year or December, have that on hand, have an estimate of the chemical you're gonna use and actually sit down and budget for it you know, December of next year for fiscal year 26 if you want. I mean, I think it's up to you, but it's almost too late to do this year. And I would say you could still do it, but it's pretty late in the game to be doing it. If you really wanted to enact some kind of, you know, increased level of effort, you certainly can, but I do see, you know, to me, it wouldn't be waiting another year. It's not like it's
I could,
you know, you're gonna fall off the cliff if you don't do something.
and I could write an IRBM roadside survey grant this summer, just get every roadside, and we'd have a survey of what's going on everywhere. They do give that, and that's probably the best opportunity for money to do that, pay somebody to survey every roadside.
Would that cover the whole thing?
I think so. Well, we may have to cover 20%, but
That's that $2,000.
You know, so actually there was some
10,000, right?
opportunities for grant money
I think they
sent
bumped it now.
yesterday that Luann sent, that stuff should go directly to conservation and to secondary roads. I couldn't forward it. They wouldn't even allow me to forward it. They
What's
usually
that?
forward, I don't know, it was something, some kind of program that they're applying for roadside stuff and
I
Why
think
do
it was
they
an
have the county
IRB
buying the
funds.
chemicals?
Oh, we have,
Why do they have the county buying the chemicals?
Why do we buy it?
I know why airplanes, when we'd spray them for the state, we'd sign it off, but there was also. There's always a caveat that you're responsible for the chemical that's under your license,
I think that puts the liability back.
but there is. You're still taking most of it off, yeah, there's still some.
We buy.
They're always gonna have.
We buy
some.
the chemical because we can basically buy it
If they-
cheaper.
Yeah, we can get it right.
Because we actually, when we do this quotes, we have there's a, what we call an option or alternate, like what does it cost per chemical? Like if you're buying it by the ounce or by the quart or by the gallon, they quote their price too. And I compare that to the prices we get. And if the prices we get are more than what they're quoting, we'll buy it from the contractor. But almost every time we've done it, our quote is less than the contractor's quote.
I just think they did it for the liability purposes. I don't know. We just apply it. We didn't buy it. We just
Well,
applied it.
they're gonna have a little bit of that, but
It's the
They're not
aggregate
attorneys here.
liability. I mean, yeah.
Even though you bought the chemicals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of no different than on the
Great,
park field.
stable soil.
The farmer's buying the chemical, but if they screw up something, they're gonna come back to the applicator's gotta replace
Yeah,
the
they
crop
usually
or
come
whatever.
in.
Okay.
It depends on the weather, like, if we get like early spring, early summer, like we're getting, they might come in a little bit early, but usually sometime in May, June. And then they're done usually by the end of June.
cause we can't legally cut brush or cut the ditches before July 15th, is that right?
you're not supposed to mow by state law, I think it is July 15th.
So with that
You know
being said, there was a lot more
Unless it's
landowners.
safety
that-
related,
Well, yeah,
so,
roads edges,
so we're mowing the shoulders because it's a safety related issue, so there's an exemption for that.
I can't remember what the date is though off the top of my
It
head.
wasn't June, maybe it is July, I don't know.
I,
So there
I
was,
should
a-
know that.
there was a fair amount of landowners that are doing a lot more mowing and cleaning along the ditches.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, they're.
I
making
think
it very
that maybe
presentable.
what I'm getting from you guys is this is a discussion of. We do a little research on our end before next budget year, kind of, is what I'm kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe we see what Jeannie's capabilities are this summer yet too.
yeah.
'Cause we're just guessing.
No, I've honestly had no complaints to the point there.
Well, you know, if they're talking,
What I worked on
you're talking about April, May
Give you those areas that
application
I
next
did work
year,
on.
you know, as we crunch up numbers or whatever, see
Yeah.
where we fall out, you know.
And just for, I still have Jeannie patrolling the parks on weekends, that's just part of it. She's not full-time into this right now.
Right.
So.
I would say we'll keep conversations rolling.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I guess we
keep
can
moving
talk
on it.
about putting some more, if we can put something in the budget for spraying
Yeah.
or.
Year 26.
And I don't know, do you guys budget any chemical for what we have for, I know our 3,000 we budgeted isn't gonna be enough for what you guys have cut for trees.
Well, we would probably roll it into like our 41 for ditch cleaning, or we have a.
You have a line, we
497,
could
yeah.
take some out.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a good question. This-
that's it.
So
Alright.
like up there, Jeannie, I guess my question would be like where they're clearing on the Caves Road. would you spray that?
What they'd like to see, what I'm hearing from the chemical reps is they'd like to see 3 to 4 foot of regrowth. So you have good foliage for to absorb the chemical and get to the roots. So it would be probably July, August, September. As long as, you know.
Even
weather
for the
stays-
woody species
Yep,
too?
so, well, the noxious weeds will probably be April, May, early June before they go to seed. Cause after you get to the end of June into July, you're really not gonna do any
Right.
damage to them spraying them, and then you would start into the brush after that.
Okay, okay.
So we do want good regrowth, so that's why they push it back later in the season on those woody vegetation.
Sounds good.
Can I-
Keep working. See what you're doing.
Can I hit you guys on a park update thing too? That's a little off the top. Just a question to run by you supervisors.
Okay,
Is
is there no money attached? Great.
we had some questions on the lime kilns and everything they're doing out there. So we're kind of working to rewrite our management agreement. And it seems like they're pushing me. They want a 25-year agreement. Nin mentioned 5. Sounds like one of them came in and talked to Lisa, and I'm getting 2 different stories here from him. He said that she was fine with 25 years. and
No, I'm
put
not.
Stipulations of 5. I
I've
think
got
5
it.
or
Take it.
shorter agreements make sense to, you know.
I think you need to
5 years.
relook at things in 3 to 5 years, yes.
You know, and their thing was, well, we'll write it for 25, but then we'll relook at it every 3 to
That don't
5, and it's like, it doesn't work that way. Cause you don't relook at it.
Wow, yeah, so I just wanted to run that thought process, that you're on the
What
same.
do they want in the management agreement for the lime kilns?
What?
It, right, are you,
Well, so the agreement was written in 1986. It was about a paragraph and a half. And it really didn't outline who was in charge of what or who did what.
They kind of take care of everything and you guys mow.
Well, in the
Is
past,
that
it was
what
kind
they
of us doing a lot of this stuff, and now they're doing a lot of things on their own, which kind of fall outside the county's insurance. That's what brought this up. So, I kind of feel,
with Together We Build, you know, as I sit on that board and then you guys all sit on it, it's like, you hear about all this work they did to build the building. Not realizing, I'm like, that's kind of the easy part, because now people gotta maintain it for the next
yeah,
forever. I know what they want to do, and they were talking secondary roads with I-beams and
yeah,
come in and put it for walking ridges, and now we're talking liabilities and maintenance and
I think
old
that's,
barns that could fall and people, I mean,
I think that's where this all came about. So I kind of did a draft yesterday and I haven't showed it to any of them, so I don't want to be straightforward. I haven't even had communication since I put a draft. But really what I put in there is, we'll mow it for them. What we've been mowing in the past. We're not gonna do more, or we might do less. I might take some of that out because I think it's not safe for them to be mowing the ditch that they gotta go.
No, yeah.
That,
well, they're gonna have this whole ramp. I see
yeah,
they're
so
building.
there's some things, but I don't know if I have oversight. I have a board. I don't think there's oversight on what they got going on, so that makes me nervous. As our department and our name's been on it. I just think we are friendly, we wanna work with them, we wanna be, you know, if we can help them out, but I think mowing's what it sounds like. I don't know what their budget is.
They're making up their own budget. They're getting donations.
So, well, I received a bill on my desk yesterday. It was something they did. I'm like, that's not right.
We don't own the land.
And I guess there's some things there that need to be figured out. But I think what I'm writing up is we're gonna mow, but there's nothing else. We're taking all of our signs off there's not gonna be a county conservation sign on the property. They have to put their own insurance on everything. We're not insuring anything. Only thing we're doing is we'll help mow to maintain the area. And so visitors can utilize it. I did put in there that they would allow us to do programming out there if it didn't affect anything else they had going on. I don't know if you had a chance to read that.
Which that would be a good compromise for the mowing.
Yeah, so that was kind of the way I put it, but the year thing, I think is gonna keep getting pushed down my throat, and I'm thinking, I'm 5 years or less is what I was thinking.
Like I said, I'm in favor of 3 years. The most I would go is 5.
Okay,
I would prefer 3.
Three?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just because I appreciate it. I got caught one of them. That's reminds me, I've got to talk to secondary roads because they were talking about. Well, they got some I-beams they want to use as the bridge support for their walking bridge to get across the creek or whatever. And I'm like, well, as far as I know, Todd uses those for bridges. So they want to get and they're hiring a crane to come in and put them in or somebody to, you know, and I'm just like.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
I'm just like.
We do not have insurance on that, and we're gonna take the insurance off the picnic shelter.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, our board discussed taking the insurance off the shelter. That was the only thing that we showed that we had insurance on. We're taking that off. We get our signage out of there. I don't think it shows anything on us.
One in Spruce Creek, is that shelter coming down too, over by the parking lot?
At Spruce.
Yep.
We've been debating it.
Okay, just so that we know if there's insurance on it, that we can remove that if it's
Yeah.
coming out.
Yep. So I need to talk to Lisa on a few things.
You know what, we've been working with department heads and it's.
Yep, I
it's been
appreciate
very
that.
beneficial.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So that was one thing, insurance was our discussion, but the kilns, I think we need to work with the Historic Society. And see if we can keep them, it's a good place to have for the county, people drive by pulling there.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Our city
I've got
administrator
pictures of them.
talks about it, but what is, we have 40 parks. What is our limit, you know?
I hear you.
How
And
far
I
do
mean,
we
there's still legislation now also about the forest management ground, the land that's out there. So
Yeah,
I don't know where that goes. I guess maybe nowhere, but I think, I still obviously think there's a percentage that should be involved for these
Yeah.
forest preserves, whatever they're signing up for, no taxes and, you know, they're not maintaining X amount of trees in every 100 square feet, whatever it is. So it's,
yep, well, that's one I've talked to them, I don't know how I'd like to review some of them, but I don't even know where to start,
yeah.
so.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yep, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Nope, you're good.
Pass. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Fine, we'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else before the board this morning? Nate? Sorry, that loud? At some point, if you want to bring your new employee in too, just to meet the board.
Oh, yeah, I should bring AC in. Yep.
You know,
Cool, good thought.
I mean, we like to meet our new employees if. you
Yep,
know.
I'll do that, so,
Sorry about that.
sounds good, thanks, guys.
Anything else before the board this morning? Are we through our agenda?
Very much.
Pretty much.
I got a 12 o'clock, so
If not,
motion adjourned.
Second.
motion and second to adjourn. Any further comments? I just have one. We'd like to pass our congratulations on to the Macokota bowling team.
Boys and girls.
Boys and.
And they are state champions.
They're both champions
No.
again.
The girls
And
are
the boy, and this is a repeat, correct? 2 years in a row?
Yes.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Very tough to do. So congratulations to them. Keep on rolling. Did you get it? Did you get it?
Oh, nice pun, Mike.
Pin intended.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Oh, yeah.
Motion carried, meeting adjourned.